And hello, everyone. Hope you can all hear me. Hope everything is fine. We're having a fantastic morning. I'm having a fantastic morning, and I hope you are too. Hope everyone in the chat is having a wonderful morning, staying safe, staying healthy, staying as safe as possible. Hope everyone is doing just fine, because today is going to be another round of delicious morning nonsense. Hello, chat. Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of fun. A lot of fun. There's so much nonsense. This piles up over the night. If you don't keep up with this nonsense every day, okay, it just sneaks up on you. It does. It's the reality of the situation, unfortunately, or fortunately, because now we can all have a wonderful laugh. So I'm really glad everyone is able to make it. Hello, I was on time today. Just like I said I would be. I was on time today. Good morning, good morning. So much nonsense, chat. So much nonsense we have to go over today, and so much nonsense, in fact, that I had no idea actually how to start the stream this morning. So I just went ahead and chose to start this stream by taking a cue from last stream and just stepping into the pool of Star Trek Picard one more time before we move on to some bigger, brighter things, including how nonsensical canon is, apparently. Let's see here. Let's see here. Hex, hey LD. Let's see here. Barry Ben, hey LD. Hello to you, Barry Ben. Hello. How is everyone today? Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see here. Uh, Rosalva Herrera, hail to you, hail to you. Hex Harper, so much crap to go through. You need a bigger shovel. Exactly. But it's a delightful job. Unlike some of these actually working with actual crap, this is a little more fun. I think a little more fun. Also, some I don't know. Hopefully, we can get to this. Hopefully, we get to this video. But a new YouTuber came on the stage yesterday. If you didn't notice, very delightful one. Changed my mind entirely on the Star Wars sequels. Completely changed my mind. A new YouTuber called Mooper came out April 1st, April Fool's Day. We won't be covering the main one though. We'll be covering another one because I covered the first video by Mooper yesterday on Smudboy's channel, and unfortunately, there's a music in there, copyright music in there that I learned that will actually give you a copyright strike. So we'll be covering that one. But fortunately for us, Mooper did come out with additional video that will, I think, will be fine. I think it was over the top, incredible, and fantastic. I think we'll have a lot of fun covering it. So that's later on in the stream, hopefully, if we get to it. Let's see here. Let's see here. Angela Sword, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I found this video. I didn't find it. Someone, a buddy of mine found it. Let's see here. And make sure I have the right one. And here it is. Fantastic. Angel to the raise. Thank you much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the 5. Here's your nonsensical morning and a fine day afterwards. Oh, yes, absolutely. There's nothing like starting your day off with nonsense and just laughing about it the rest of the day. Nothing like that. It's awesome. It's going to be fantastic. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Insult to the human race. Appreciate that. And here we go. By Major Grin, he was the one we saw yesterday. If you were here yesterday, Major Grin actually put together a little side by side comparison of the sound effect that Picard used, that they actually stole it from Mass Effect. Now, he wasn't the one who did the side by side comparison with Mass Effect and Picard. He was just the one who put together a little clip of Star Trek Picard using the same exact sound effect for their Borg Cube entry as Mass Effect did for the Reapers. So yeah, he's a pretty interesting channel. But now that today he put together a little montage of Kurtzman trying to explain what Star Trek Picard is about. I think this might be pretty interesting for us to go through, and then we can move on to different, not better things, but different things. Obviously, this was very interesting and very hilarious. I found it I found it very, very entertaining to see these people squirm through Star Trek Picard. Anyway, let's check this out. Go ahead and like it. It's Major. Once again, the channel is Major Grin. Pretty good channel as far as I've seen. Let's check it out.
And in that first meeting, that was really where Patrick threw down the gauntlet and said, if I were ever to do this again, I need to have a brand new reason to do it. And I want to defy people's expectations.
Well, that's, you know what that means, Chad? Defying expectations is just another way of saying he wanted to subvert our expectations. And you know how that always turns out well. You know, I don't see this, I don't really understand this new rush, right? This new rush to subvert everyone's expectations. Why do I want to subvert my audience expectations? The audience are coming to me. It's like me offering a steak dinner. It's like, hey, everyone come over to my house. I'm hosting a steak dinner, and then everyone walking in and finding it's all liver and onions or something. You know what I mean? It's all McDonald's or something. I came to your house. The guests probably thinking I came to your house for a steak dinner. I got all dressed up and everything. I canceled my plans I had already established. I hired a babysitter so I could have a nice, delicious steak dinner. And now I came over here all the way to your house, and you're serving me McDonald's? This is a big waste of time. So, and I would say, of course, yeah, but you were expecting steak, right? But I gave you something else instead. I subverted your expectations, and therefore it's brilliant, right? Right? See, that's how people feel when their expectations are subverted. Not very pleasant. It's not a very pleasant experience. It makes people angry and irritated and annoyed to have their expectations subverted. I don't want that. Okay? When I go see a Star Wars movie, if I watch Star Trek, I want to go see something that's Star Trek. I want to go see something that's Star Wars. I don't want to go see some random rom-com in space when I'm going to go see a show called Star Trek Picard. Okay, I don't want to go see Mass Effect the TV show when I go see Star Trek Picard. I just don't. It's not how that works. What they should be concentrating on, which is a tougher thing to accomplish by far, is of course not subverting our expectations, but exceeding them. Okay, but they don't want to say that. They wanted to say, my goal was to exceed expectations. They wanted to say my goal was to subvert expectations, because subverting your expectations is a lot easier, especially if you know the fan base. The fan base might be coming in thinking, "Hey, I want to come in watching a show called Star Trek Picard, and I want Star Trek Picard to show Jean-Luc Picard doing some sort of Picard stuff, going and having to sort out moral issues, giving some Picard speeches, and sorting out things that no one else can sort out because he's Picard." And then they come in and say, "Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to basically turn him into a world hopping adventurer who failed at everything in life, according to what we want to how we want to illustrate our current iteration of Picard." And you weren't expecting that, were you? You were expecting a nice, successful Picard who has retired, who's happily retired, and is just on his vineyard, just waiting out the rest of his days. You were expecting that, weren't you? Where he was going to be doing something important with diplomacy or sorting out some issue for Starfleet, maybe. You were expecting that, but we knew you were expecting that. You're expecting logs and starships, negotiations with other races, maybe some discovering new ones, giving some nice moral, encountering some moral dilemmas that he can sort out, because that's what Picard does. And we were expecting that, and they didn't give it to us. And they subverted our expectations. That's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to subvert our expectations, chat, than exceed them, which they don't want to do. So they continue inviting us over for steak dinner and then serving us McDonald's. And they're expecting us to be happy about that and to call their little lie a genius move.
Because there are so many expectations with the next generation and what it would be now.
And one of the expectations was that, from Next Generation, was that Picard would be good, would have good solid writing with good solid moral dilemmas and action, and maybe even an episodic run. But that's not what we got. That's how we got. So yeah, you thoroughly subverted expectations. The main one though was where I was expecting your writing to be good with Picard. I was expecting that. You subverted my expectations into showing me that that wasn't true. Your writing was not good. I say HK47 for life. Thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. A subversion needs to be better than the expectation. Exactly. Exactly. So we can take subversions of our expectations as long as our expectations are also exceeded, which I don't do because that's a whole day. That's work. And when you're running a show that has a big budget, well, the last thing you ever want to do is work. Am I right? I mean, look at George Lucas on in the prequel set. He's just sitting around sipping his coffee. Yeah, you don't want to do work. That's not how good things are made, right? Don't want to put any effort in anything.
And it was a wonderful challenge. So I sat down at that point with Kirsten Beyer, Akiva Goldsman, and Michael Chabon, and we were like, okay, let's write a 4-page treatment. He just wants 4 pages.
Oh, is that all?
So this show is entering pre-production?
Yeah, oh yeah.
When are we going to see it? What's it called?
I like this part. He has no idea what to call it. He has no idea what it's going to be about. I think this actually shows us that they actually got the name Star Trek Picard from some random guy in the audience. Hex Harper, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Me, yes, I'd love some tea and a sandwich. Mr. T shows up and gives me a knuckle sandwich. Show writer, I'm brilliant. That's exactly what they think. I know it's supposed to be a joke, but I'm pretty sure if they did that, they would say that they were brilliant and that we are some big dumb fanboys because we didn't get it or we didn't like it. Thank you much for that. Appreciate that.
We don't have a name for it yet.
Okay.
I'd love to give you an official title. There's a lot of conversation about that right now.
But what's it about?
Captain Picard?
Okay. Anything more than that?
Nope. We will take that into consideration.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
You think they took that into consideration, chat? You think they did? I think they did. I think they took that into consideration because that was the only thing they had in mind. They had. I'm getting this feeling here, chat. They did that. These showrunners put no thought into this thing. They just they said we want to do a Star Trek series, and we don't want to actually do the whole thing where we have to cover an entire crew. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work too, chat. Okay, and we don't have to do the ship thing. That's a lot. So the logs and the think of whole new scenarios for every episode. And if we just focus on Picard, that'd be a lot easier. A lot easier. We just bring in a lot of nostalgia, make it even easier. But we have no idea what we're going to call it. I guess we'll just call it Star Trek Picard because some guy told us to. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate your effort and your adherence and how much respect you had for the Star Trek franchise. Thank you very much.
That man is bereft of passion and imagination.
Well, let's start with the fans, okay? So, very vocal fan base, and it took me a while to understand that the debate that some people who love it and some people who hate it is actually one of the great gifts of Star Trek, and that debate is healthy and democratic and wonderful.
Let's check this out. Hi, nitpicking nerd. Due to copyright claim, your YouTube video has been blocked. This means that your video can no longer be played on YouTube. The video title, Star Trek Discovery, Season 3 poster implies Andromeda ripoff plot and what it means for Picard's show. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say about that again. Before that, let's see what they have to say, chat. Wait for the internet gas to kick in. Yeah, wait for the internet gas to kick in. Always wait for the internet gas. It's important, healthy stuff. Especially if it's experimental, apparently. And yes, if we get to it, we have more new Warrior stuff today. Well, not really new, but there's an opinion piece I saw that might be interesting. So let's see what they went over real quick. We're quick, chat. Go over this one more time, and make sure this is working.
Some people who love it and some people who hate it is actually one of the great gifts of Star Trek, and that debate is healthy and democratic and wonderful.
So there's people who he acknowledges there's people who like some stuff, people who hate some stuff, and that the debate, okay, the discussions and debate are wonderful and democratic and just overall great. Unless it's on YouTube, then you get a hit with a copyright strike. Which means as your video has been blocked and you're no longer your video can no longer be played on YouTube. Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you very much, CBS.
They have to come out of that feeling it's worth the money. And what I always said to everybody was, nobody complains about paying for Game of Thrones. So we have to do the same.
His head fell off.
Well, I think there was initial
As the Flint Lockwood, you should start using dark web diesel LD. That's a consideration I might take in. I heard it's kind of dangerous, but I heard it can get you in trouble. But I also heard it works really, really good, really, really well. That good old dark web diesel, good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, let's still go ahead and see here. Let's see here. Angel of Thy Sword. Thing is, I often find myself to be excruciatingly paranoid that every creation of mine is inadequate in some form. These people clearly never feel that way. Is that not irritating? Perhaps it's just me. Yeah, it's very healthy to feel that your project that you're working on is inadequate for some reason. That's how it should be. It's supposed to because that means that you are dedicated to improving yourself, self improvement, and dedicated to perfection, or reaching as close as you can to perfection. Let's see here. The one savant is Tanya, who wishes Minland had won. Audience member, can you make it more about, I don't know, Mass Effect? I like Mass Effect. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, we might take into consideration. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that might have happened in the audience because they definitely took Mass Effect into consideration at the very least.
reaction to, and it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just it was an expected adjustment period to the darker tone of how we introduced the story. There's a lot of things that Trek hadn't quite done the way we did them, and that's why we did them.
A traitor slaughtered a Klingon infant.
In a time of war, the Klingons all shave their body hair. It's a version of sort of saying we're now committing to war, and that.
Wait, hold on. Now, I watched a lot of Star Trek, but I have never heard that one. When was that a thing? When was that a Klingon ritual where if they go to war, they shave all their body hair? What? I know Klingons have a lot of weird rituals they have going on, but when was that one? Well, who thought about that one? That's a strange ritual to add into the Klingon uh, collection of rituals. I don't know, Chad. Did you ever hear about that one? Is that just like this Star Trek Discovery thing? What is that? What is that? Klingons shave all their body hair when they're going to war? Doesn't make any sense. Since when?
That was the logic for them not having hair.
We'll be going right back to the front lines.
And my ship will be at your side.
To a Klingon, a beard is a symbol of courage.
And really through
Again, it's almost like these people didn't watch Star Trek before they made this series or care. Because Klingons are supposed to be essentially like space Vikings, more or less. I mean, they started out as kind of like space samurai, and they kind of changed into more or less space Vikings, where they kind of like the eating the hearts of the enemy and raiding enemy villages, that sort of thing. That seems to be that's what they like. And beards are in Viking culture. I mean, you like to think of this brutal warrior with big beards and everything. That's what we want to see. So, where in Klingon history was it ever said or mentioned that they shave their body hair, and that was an excuse as to why they don't have hair, even though you completely changed them for Star Trek Discovery? See, Barry Bend, Klingons love hair like dwarves. You never shave a beard, you only trim. Yeah, Worf always had this beard going on, and even said they just mentioned And we're back, chat. We're back. We're back. We're back. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. It's a really strange thing. You've seen Smudcast's, Smud Boys streams. This happens quite a bit for some reason. Every once in a while, it happens, and it's not an internet issue. It's a technical issue with the computer. I have no idea what's going on with it. I've tried restarting it from scratch. I reduced it to factory settings, which put me back quite a bit as far as programming and making videos, and it still has this problem. I have no idea what's going on. It just randomly freezes every once in a while. It's very, very annoying. But I'm back, and it shouldn't freeze again for the rest of the stream. Hopefully. So thank you very much for those of you who decided to stick with me. Let's see here. There we go. I am back. So let me set this up real quick again. Let's see. I live once more, chat. We'll see what we can do from here. One second. Put this back up. And we're unstoppable, chat. We're unstoppable. We take YouTube, computer issues, no matter what it is, internet issues, regardless of what's going on, we will be persistent and we will push on. They can't stop us, chat. They just can't. It's impossible. Let's see here. Got it. Here we go. And let me see. I think
And
we're
in
around.
that first meeting,
Hold on, I think we're right here somewhere.
I'd love to give you an official title. There's a lot of conversation about that right now.
But what's it about?
Captain Picard.
Okay.
They have to come out of that feeling it's worth the money. And what I always said to everybody was, nobody complains about paying for Game of Thrones. So we have to do the same.
Yeah, but Game of Thrones was good in the first couple of seasons. Really, everyone loved Game of Thrones. It was a popular book. It had a lot of effort that went into the books of Game of Thrones. You put this Star Trek Picard did not come from a book. Okay, no one did the hard work for you for Star Trek Picard, unless you count TNG. That's about it. But Star Trek Picard itself, as its own property, was not adapted from a book series. So they didn't have a trajectory to go from. Like there was no hardworking author who did all the groundwork and all laid down all the characterization and everything for them. Okay, it just didn't happen. So all you had was lazy, effortless work that went into the writing, and that was all you had. You couldn't be lazy and then just sit back and relax as George R.R. Martin's work helps you out. Okay, it didn't work. Didn't happen. So no, your work is not nearly as good as Game of Thrones because you were on your own as a lazy writer. When you didn't have the Game of Thrones lazy writers, okay, they had George R.R. Martin's work to fall back on. You don't. You don't have anyone's hard work to fall back on. So no, this is not even close to being equal to Game of Thrones. Not even a little bit. It's completely different ball game.
His head fell off.
Well, I think there was initial reaction to, and it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just an expected adjustment period to the darker tone of how we introduced the story. There's a lot of things that Trek hadn't quite done the way we did them, and
It's a serene Forge works. It's almost as if GOT had a real writer, not a lazy screenwriter, who only cared about a paycheck. Yeah, it's almost as if. Game of Thrones had a real writer who was an actual author as its backbone. Okay, it wasn't just lazy screenwriters who wanted to just pump out something with a popular brand name on it so they could get a paycheck, regardless of what happened with fans or anything like that. Yeah, Game of Thrones had a real writer behind it. They had some lazy showrunners or some talentless showrunners, but at the very backbone of Game of Thrones, it had a very talented and interesting writer. Star Trek Picard did not.
and that's why we did them.
A traitor slaughtered a Klingon infant.
In a time of war, the Klingons all shave their body hair. It's a version of sort of saying we're now committing to war, and that was the logic for them not having hair.
We'll be going right back to the front lines.
And my ship will be at your side.
To a Klingon, a beard is a symbol of courage.
There we go. I think that's where we stopped before everything went and decided to freeze on itself. Yeah, Klingons had body hair. Okay, it's a thing they had. I mean, we didn't see really any Klingons naked or anything, but they respected a beard. And if they just decided to not have body hair, and when they wanted to go to war, then wouldn't they shave their beard and maybe even the hair they had on their head? Doesn't make any sense. Like, since when was this a thing with Klingons where they shave all their body hair? How does it seems like a it doesn't seem very warrioristic. It seems like a very soy boy thing to do. I'm going to shave off my body hair before I go to war. Before I go to war on Twitter. No, I don't think Klingons even care about body hair.
And really, through an era of omission, we realized we hadn't actually made that explicitly clear in any context. So people were very like, why don't this is not the Klingons? And in season 2, we were like, well, let's tell them why. And so we explained that it was because it was a time of war.
To victory. Hard fought. And well earned.
Dropped the first F-bomb in a Star Trek TV show.
Yeah.
There was some fleeting Klingon nudity.
Yeah.
Tell us about
That was just terrible. That was just awful. So the reason why they look completely different, not just bald Klingons or anything like that, but completely different, like physiologically, like their whole bodies and faces and skulls completely different, is because they just shave their body hair randomly and all of a sudden. Reconciliation for not very much for $1.99. Appreciate that. This reeks of recycled scripts and laziness. Yes, it really, really does. Now that you see him talk about the show and how they're running it, it just seems like they're just being lazy. They don't care. It's they have no. They're not really Star Trek fans. They had never seen any other Star Trek. It just reeks of that. You can just tell. Let's see here.
the creative decisions there.
You know, it's all toned, the F word. It's fuck, by the way, in case anybody doesn't know.
Yeah, they're always so proud about adding in curse words because I think it's like a daddy issue or something like that. Because you see this all the time in Marvel, you see this all the time, and various entertainment sections where SJWs and NPCs kind of take over. They like to add in curse words, and like to add in more nudity and what else? They had to add in more like a contemporary speak, like 2020, 2019, 2018 speak. People talk like it's today in those works because that's the only way they know how to talk. They only know what they have encountered in real life. They don't have the imagination to conceive that some characters might speak a little differently, some might speak a little bit more formal. I think it might come to the fact that they're just still rebelling against their dads. They're still rebelling against their very conservative dads or something. So their fathers probably told them, "Oh, a lady shouldn't curse, or you're not supposed to cuss. It's a bad thing to do." And now they just held that grudge against their dad for years and years and years. And now they have their own TV show. They're going to say, "Okay, Dad, you like Star Trek. I'm going to make them curse in Star Trek. And I'm going to make them speak like a modern day people instead of having a more formal, more professional tone." It is to me. I don't know. I'm just making conjecture here, but that seems to be the case. Seems to be the case. And see, reconciliation for $1.99. Appreciate that. If you shave your hair, it's to apply war paint. That's the only reason why a Klingon should shave their hair. Is to apply war paint and other things that just terrify their opponents.
We were like, all right, let's not do this in a way that feels like it's disrespectful of Trek. Let's do this in a way that is.
Let's not do this in a way that's disrespectful of Trek. I thought that was your entire goal, was to disrespect Trek and disrespect all the fans of Star Trek. I'm not really buying your. Let's not just do something that's not disrespectful to Trek. Not really buying that part of the conversation.
Actually kind of wonderful.
Sheer fucking hubris. Shut the fuck up.
Have this ancient admiral speak like a high school girl who got their job from daddy's money or something. Have this admiral, a Starfleet admiral, who should be up in the upper echelons of Starfleet command, speak like a teenager. That's all they know how to do. That's all they know how to write is themselves, their best friend, which is pretty much themselves, the people they hate, and the people they're trying to protect. the minority they're trying to protect. That's pretty much it. You see, Angel of Thy Sword, I think it's their way of being quirky. It absolutely is. In a way that makes them feel mature. As you say, it makes them feel rebellious. They love to irritate to imitate this behavior in real life, broadcasting it. Exactly, they do. It's exactly it. I think it's quirky. I think it's a quote unquote mature. It's the same mindset that because a show has more sex and nudity and cursing and violence, it suddenly becomes more mature. That's not the truth. That's not actually how that works. Because you can. What's the old meme? Like a 13-year-old boy's room will be filled with posters of scantily clad women and gore-filled properties. Yeah, just because so you have something that has a lot of like a huge amount of sex and violence in it does not make it more mature. And just because it has more cursing in it does not make it more mature. Okay, it just means it has more sex and violence and cursing in it. And in fact, sometimes it might do the opposite and make it more juvenile, depending on how you handle it. And the way they handle it in Picard, it just seems more juvenile. Like they're trying to stuff it in there, like they're trying to, like they forgot to put it in there, and they need more curse words. Like we need more curse words in here to appeal to the soy boys and the SJWs, so they can rebel against their dads.
Curse.
I hate that fucking hospitality.
Somebody else could find that fucking synth. Why does it have to be me?
Sorry, I had to fucking ruin it.
You want to be ass deep in Romulans?
Some brown sticky shit.
See how awkward all that cursing is? It's very awkward. It's like they're trying to make sentences and dialogue just so they can have cursing in it, not really to move the plot along.
I'm not their mother, asshole.
And I fucking did it again.
You mean the profanity? Yeah. That's simply the way they talk here. Nobody pays any attention to you unless you swear every other word. You'll find it in all the literature of the period.
This is so fucking cool.
It is.
Very colorful metaphors. Very colorful metaphors. See, this is one of the big ones because they say, "Oh yeah, it's real rebellious, real mature, very current year, very more realistic that they would curse or something like that." I bet that'll be the argumentation. The thing is, they actually set this up. They actually addressed this in established Star Trek. Okay, they don't curse in the future, not really. Not the way we do today. So that's why they had that scene with Spock and Kirk where he goes, where he says, "Oh, cut for metaphors," and Kirk goes, "Oh, you mean the cursing? Oh, well, that's just the way they talk in the present day. It's the way they talk, way back in the past, according to Kirk. People don't really pay attention to you unless you use these colorful metaphors, we'll say. So they don't do that because this is the future. Okay, they're better. They're enlightened, and the reason they don't curse that much. I mean, in the original TNG, they mainly used the word "damn" every once in a while. That's about it. Even that was scarce. Let's see, the servant of Centania, which is Midland 1. Insulting is not the bad part. The way they awkwardly fit it in the conversation. Example: saying "fuck" or "shit" when something breaks, and you keep trying to make it work as expected. Yeah. So when something bad happens when you're breaking it, and you let go of an expletive, that makes sense. That's natural and organic. But they just keep shoving in curse words, I can't help but think that every time a curse word comes on screen in Picard or Discovery, that I just keep imagining the showrunners and the writers just giggling and offset, like, "Oh, we got him the curse. We got him the curse. Take that, Dad."
Fucking cool. You want to tell us what kind of shitstorm we're flying into?
Now you get off my ass so we can get back to work? The shit would hit the fan.
We were like, all right, let's not do this in a way that feels like it's disrespectful of Trek.
It's exactly what happened.
Well, it's freaking amazing.
Excuse me? Freaking amazing.
Evolution's a fickle bitch, am I right?
I'm going. Get off my ass. Sir, get off my ass, sir.
Bullshit.
Stop cursing. I mean, come on. Like this, can you write a script without cursing in it? It sounds so strange in Star Trek. It just sounds really, really strange. Criminal Imagination, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. I may call this self-insertion speak. That's actually a pretty good term. Self-insertion speak, where all dialogue is just the writer talking to themselves for all characters. That seems to be the case. I like that. Self-insertion speak. Oh man, we wanted to do this in a way that would just not disrespect Star Trek. Okay, sure. I believe you. I totally believe you on that front.
Everything is lies.
Not really.
Everything is lies.
Everything is lies, Chad. Everything is lies. Don't listen to them. Okay, don't listen to them. Everything is lies. But that was some Street Fighter. The show that kind of became a meme by now. Let's continue.
Spock,
Yes.
about those colorful metaphors that we've discussed, I don't think you should try using them anymore.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, you haven't quite got the knack of it.
They have to come out of that feeling it's worth the money.
Yeah, I think they should take the same advice that Kirk is giving Spock there. Stop using those colorful metaphors. They don't quite have the knack of it. They don't. They really don't.
And what I always said to everybody was, nobody complains about paying for Game of Thrones. So we have to do the same.
Heads are falling off! Oh, that's it.
Nobody complains about paying for Game of Thrones. So we have to do this.
Yeah, no one complains about paying for Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is good. And no one complains about paying for Netflix, not really, because Netflix has a variety of things you can look at. Even now, even all the woke stuff, they still have a lot of interesting media on Netflix that you can consume. You don't have to watch the woke stuff. That's why no one complains, because of quality. Okay, have you ever heard of that word? Quality? It doesn't seem like you have.
Same.
Baby brother.
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Have you fucked any of them? Come see my hiding place. I can smell her on you.
Yeah, with the way, have you ever seen Picard? The way they kind of went with the show was that they're trying to be Game of Thrones, but a very, very poor version of it. They just kill off main characters, but with no real fanfare. Nothing really. Nothing at all. Like, it's just suddenly Hugh's dead. Okay. Suddenly Ichib's dead. Okay. Just for shock value. Which is pretty. See, the thing is, the rule is if you kill off a main character, like a character people love, just for shock value, not really for to up the stakes or to change things or to switch out the narrative or to change the direction or anything like that, for no reason at all, just other than shock value, that is highly disrespectful to the audience and the character.
Smell is remarkably carnal.
Also, those two characters are brother and sister, so they have that incest thing going on. I don't like heavy incest vibes, like Jaime Lannister and Cersei Lannister sort of vibes. Nothing ever happens between them, not really, but I kind of got that Game of Thrones feel from them. And then they go off and try to make it dark and try to kill off characters, but it's just like a poor version of it, a very, very poor, lazy version of Game of Thrones.
Your miscalculation.
Do you dream of her too? Endlessly fidgeting with her until she pops.
And see, Barry Bend, they don't understand because they don't think critically. That's exactly right. Exactly right. They don't think critically. I'm not even sure they think at all, but they definitely do not think critically on anything really. That's why they have to. That's why they have to steal franchises, and that's why they have to take over things and steal characters, and just inject their own personalities into these already established characters because they don't have any imagination. It's all just putting themselves in the show because that's all they know. All they know is themselves. They don't know anything else. They don't know how to. They don't know how to write different personalities. They don't know how to write any other dialogue other than their everyday speak. It's just it's terrible. It's mainly just awful.
Give it back. You'll break it.
I never understood your fascination with this toy.
Nobody complains about paying for Game of Thrones. So we have to do the same.
First of her name,
Queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms.
All hail her most imperial majesty, mother of the fatherland.
Also, Game of Thrones started off as its own thing. It didn't have anything to rely on. So Star Trek Picard can rely on TNG and pretty much the movies. However, Game of Thrones had to be established itself from episode 1, and then it kind of built its world up from that. Yeah, it kind of deteriorated in the last few seasons, but it had to build up its own world. It had to establish itself. It has established itself from episode 1. It didn't have the advantage of having other series to rely upon. So when you take that, everything was put together. It built its own mythos. It was built its own characters, its own inter-character relationships. It was interesting. It was self-contained. So Star Trek Picard is not. You have to. It can really only get a lot of the references. They really only get the importance of Picard as a character if you watch TNG, a whole another series. Let's see. Rock and Sailor, thanks for $1.99. Appreciate that. Damn, as a curse word is religious in nature and so bad. Damn, as a curse word is religious in nature so bad. Yeah. It's not. It's less than. It's not nearly as bad as the ones they brought in for like Star Trek Picard. Not nearly at all. Brandon Jensen, thank you very much for the 2. Hey LD, good morning. Well, good morning to you. Good morning. Hope it's being fantastic so far. And I hope the rest of your day will be also equally fantastic. So we're almost done with this video. Let's check it out. See what it has to say.
Overlord of Vulcan, Dominus of Kronos, Regina Andor, all hail the Emperor, Philippa Giorgio Augustus.
We have sentenced you to death for crimes committed against the Terran throne. Do you have any last words?
The living core of the mycelial network.
That wasn't from Picard. I know that's probably from Discovery. Did they go ahead and not only rip off Mass Effect, but also rip off Game of Thrones? Not just have inspiration and try to copy them, just straight up rip them off. So was that brother sister thing the Romulans have in Picard? Were they actually copied off of Jaime and Cersei Lannister? That's an interesting thing. It's an interesting aspect. And just think about how much they rip off of other things. Completely rip off. I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see what else they have here.
You raped my sister.
Wow, that really looked like they really copied that from Game of Thrones. Is that what they're doing? There's like some showrunners just want to do Game of Thrones, and they didn't have the chance to, so they had the chance to do Star Trek, so this made Star Trek Game of Thrones, and not even do their whole new spin on Game of Thrones, but this Game of Thrones, what's already been written. Wow, these are the laziest, most unimaginative people to have ever taken the reins of a popular franchise. I mean, other than Rian Johnson, maybe, and J.J. Abrams.
Sister, say it now and we can make this quick.
She was my sister.
Say her name. Say her name! Say her name.
Say her name. Say her name. Say her name and beg for forgiveness.
You're dying. No, you can't die yet. You haven't confessed.
I need you to live.
Say it!
You're right.
Elia Martell.
Ava. Her name was Ava.
Wow, Chad. Wow. I had no idea they ripped off that much in Star Trek. Star Trek, because I haven't seen Star Trek Discovery, but I had no idea they ripped off that much from it, from Game of Thrones. It's a very, very nice side-by-side comparison. Wow. At this point, I don't know if you agree with me. You might not, but at this point, I almost want Uwe Boll to take over. At least he puts in a little bit of effort because he wants to get out of his taxes. So he puts in more effort than this. I can tell you that right now. So he doesn't usually just copy and paste things into his own show. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes the stuff he makes is bad, but at least he tries to be original with his horridness. So at least we got originality a little bit. It's a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe Uwe Boll will do a better job. That's awful. Awful. What are these people doing? How did these people get work? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, chat. Anyway. Let's see. This one came to my attention fairly recently. I think it'll be fun to go over it together. I haven't read through it yet, but it sounded silly enough and nonsensical enough to be worth a nice little gander at. Let's see here. Dale, thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. Killing characters is a tactic of poor writers to create drama. Same with writers who claim stable romantic relationships can't be exciting without romantic triangles. Exactly. There's a reason why these two scenarios specifically are so common in amateur fan fiction. Not like fan fiction that's written by like talented people, but fan fiction that's written by like high school kids and people just starting out with a writing career. There's a reason why if you look at someone who's just starting off writing and they're writing fan fiction or their own work, that they often do kill off characters and they often do have love triangles. It's because those are very easy things to do, very easy methods of drumming up drama, very simple, very basic. Which is why when we covered Gotham High, that scenario is pretty much a joke at this point because when you think of a stereotypical joke fan fiction, it's always going to be it's usually going to be a girl who's going to be falling in love with two of the main characters who are both charismatic and handsome. The old scenario of a pretty girl who is choosing between two very handsome and charismatic men. It's a age-old, very basic, very lazy way of writing, but which is why it's something that is commonly used in fan fiction and used by amateur writers because it takes skill to create really good drama. It takes skill to make really good tension-filled romantic relationships. So when you don't have that skill, either you don't possess that skill, or you don't possess the eagerness or the drive to put an effort in your story, then usually they'll revert to just killing off characters with no fanfare, just killing them off for drama's sake, killing them off for the shock value, or making romantic triangles because they can't really put romantic. They don't know how to write a romance with tension, an interesting romance with tension, without that triangle, because they don't have the effort, they don't have the drive, or they don't have the talent to do so. I'm pretty sure in the case of Picard, it's kind of both. They don't have the talent or the drive. Let's see here. Punished Berserker. I'm going to hate this article, aren't I? Well, I think we all are, but I think it will give us all a great laugh at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure it will, because the title alone, going by the title alone, it's just utter and complete nonsense. I mean, it has to be. So, let's check it out. And let me go ahead and remove this banner real quick. There we go. Hold it back up in a little bit. And here we go. So, a nice little article here by IO9 Gizmodo, and of course, your one-stop shop for all the truthful, not fake news. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Let's see. Our fascination with canon is killing the way we value stories. So what do they say about this? As the pop culture we love becomes increasingly dominated by vast franchises of interconnected worlds and stories, so does it become dominated by one singular question from others at Ditchard, but okay, so from diehard fans. Is the thing we're about to consume canon to everything else we've consumed before? It's an attitude that's turning our love of stories into some bizarre archival competition. So you're complaining that fans of a franchise want the new installment of a franchise that there are fans of already to be consistent with the franchise there are fans of already. Wow, what terrible people. What terrible people. What terrible people, chat. These are awful, awful people. Don't do that, chat. Don't if you're going to go into a franchise, if you're going to fall in love with a franchise or get into a franchise, do not expect for the new iterations and the new installments of that franchise to be in any way consistent with the past installments of the franchise, or else you're just an entitled toxic fan. Okay.
Course correction to
Okay, don't be
appeal
toxic
to
fan.
dumb, big
Okay, chat.
dumb fanboys.
Just don't. Just don't. Okay. And don't make that course correction, okay, chat? Don't make that course correction. Do not make that course correction if you ever find yourself at the head of a franchise, the captain of a franchise ship. Do not ever make that course correction into appealing to dumb fanboys. Okay? Don't do it. Because if you do that, you might be successful, you might make money. And people want you to be successful. People expect you to be successful. People expect you to make money. And that will subvert the expectations of everyone if you are a failure who doesn't make any money for a successful franchise. It's like Solo. Solo was a Star Wars movie, and everyone expected Solo to make a lot of money, but it subverted their expectations by not making money, by actually losing money. And that was made, that aspect is what made Solo the genius movie that it was. Exactly. Anyway, so canon is not inherently a bad thing. Yeah, because it's a good thing. Of course, it can provide structure to chaos, and it can provide a sense of not just continuity, but stakes as the continuity progresses. The idea lets characters bear the impact of events on their journeys across not just one narrative, but many, allowing them to grow and change to the point that they might even be entirely different kinds of people compared to when we first met them. You mean like a character arc? I mean having a character arc. What a novel idea. So their argument is canon can be good because it might provide substance and meaning to the story you're following and a whole character arc and people changing from being immature to being mature, like Luke Skywalker changed from farm boy to hero. Sure, you can take in that. Sure, canon can do all that for you. It can make your stories give your story weight and substance and make it likable. But here's the thing. I guess we're about to get in the meat of the subject. This should be interesting, chat. This should be interesting. I say Angel Thy Sword. The only virtue to be found within the article is LD's mocking narration. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. So let's see what they have to say after that. So after they noted that canon can possibly be good because it gives your story meaning and substance and makes people like it, let's see what they say following that little tidbit, that little nugget of truth. Let's see here. There's still plenty of room for variety and interpretation and even a relatively strictly defined canon. Just look at Star Wars and the kinds of stories it can still tell despite the mandate from upon high that anything told must fit into what's been established since Disney took over the franchise. But those stories benefit from the added weight of being definitive interpretations and events that flesh out entire galaxies worth of stories. But where canon, or rather, our hunger for it, goes terribly wrong. Okay, here we go, chat. Here we go. I see where canon, or our expectation, our need, our psychological need for consistency, our psychological need for canon in stories. Where does that go? Where does that go wrong? Let's see where that goes wrong. goes terribly wrong is when whether something matters or not becomes the base standard for how we consider a piece of media. So where our need for canon goes wrong is when whether something matters or not becomes the base standard for how we consider a piece of media. Huh. Okay. It's an attitude that becomes predominant, not just within fandom circles itself, but in the media commentary that has developed around these fandoms and the blockbuster franchises that dominate our popular culture. Critics and fans alike are now less interested in actually interpreting a piece of media thematically or engage with why they liked it or dislike it. So I guess it's their argument so far seems to be that fans are so obsessed with canon and consistency and the maintaining and respecting of continuity in a franchise that they love, and probably spent years or decades loving, because it's bad. Because they're paying so much attention to whether or not it's consistent with the past continuity, as opposed to just enjoying the thematic representation of what's going on, the themes, and the way the movie or the episode is presented to us. So essentially, we're being bad. We're being bad people, guys. We're being bad people, chat. We're the bad guys again, chat. We're just ruining everyone's fun by complaining that this is not consistent with what's happened before, and not respecting and then enjoying the product in and of itself. In order for us to enjoy the product in and of itself, it has to be at least somewhat canonically consistent. Okay, if I'm going to enjoy something like Picard, like Star Trek Picard, it has to be the character Picard in Star Trek Picard has to be the same Picard from TNG, because guess what? That's what you're trying to sell me. That's what you're trying to appeal to me. Again, we go back to the steak, the invitation for steak dinner. Okay, so you've had New York Strip, for example. You had New York Strip for many, many years. You like it, you love it, and then I invite you over for New York Strip, and you come over. It's just chuck steak. It's come from the lowest grade steak possible, and you say, "Hey, I thought you were going to get served New York Strip," and I say to you, "Well, that's where you go wrong there. Okay, well you're just holding on to the continuity of what I said to you. Okay, you're just concentrating and focusing so much on what I described to you over the phone that you're blind to the joy you could be experiencing looking at how the dinner I had prepared for you looks. Okay, yeah, it's low grade. It only cost me 50 cents at the butcher or something. And yeah, I just barely put any effort into it. But look, you can't just go around thinking everything is going to be New York steak strip. Okay, but you promised me that it would be. Yeah, so what? Stop concentrating on the continuity of what I've said, okay? Stop using my own words against me. That's what toxic fans do. Okay, you don't want to be a toxic fan now, do you? Anyway, Hex Harper, thank you very much for the 5. This article, you could always take this car, drive it across the country, and change it as a person. But have you ever considered going off this cliff? Yeah, exactly. Because they could have Picard totally be someone completely different, and yeah, the real fans would complain. Us toxic fans, us big dumb fanboys would complain that Picard they're trying to sell us is not the Picard they're trying to sell us. That they sold us a car without an engine, and they just repainted an old model of something and sold us as a new model of something. Okay, we can complain about that, but that makes us toxic. What we're really supposed to be doing is just looking at the new paint job. Sure, they tried to sell us this old car as something new, but look at the paint job, chat. Look at how they present it to us. Look at how nice it looks. Yeah, it doesn't have an engine, but who cares about that? You're just paying attention to you're just nitpicking at this point, okay? Who cares if the car doesn't have an engine? Everything else looks so good, right? Right. Anyway. See, Barry Bend. Gundam Crossbone is okay. This is way too many Gundam series at this point. I've never even heard of Gundam Crossbone. How many are there? Okay. Gun and Crossbone is set between F91, and Victory, yet it is the most creative while staying within the canon boundaries. Amon and his B Gundam's story and Grey Stork with Gump callback to UC-79. And there are so many Gundam series. I've not even heard of that one. That sounds interesting nonetheless. I really like Gundam. I saw one of the things I did see. I saw Gundam or G Gundam, the ones where they're not really fighting a war; they're just fighting in martial arts tournaments. That one was pretty interesting. Let's see here. Punish Berserker. Chuck Steak is still the theme of beef, and that should be good enough for you. And dumb big dumb fanboy. Yeah, it's still the theme of beef. Doesn't matter if it's not New York Strip, like I promised it would be. Stop complaining, you toxic big dumb fanboys. Okay. Just stop complaining for once.
Course correction to appeal
It's
to
over.
dumb,
You've
big
been invited,
fanboys.
and you got what you. You still got steak, right? You still got steak. Stop complaining. Let's see. Yeah, we didn't want to make that course correction to appeal to the big dumb fanboys. We wanted to appeal to a whole new audience with the same old steak, with the same old promise of steak. They want to appeal to a new audience by trying to sell a new audience old Picard. Sure. What a wonderful idea. I'm really believing that one. Let's see. Mark in 3D. How many Gundam series are out there? How many breads have you eaten in your life? Quite a few. Probably have more Gundam series than there are breeds of dog. Seems that way. Okay, so let's see here. Let's check it out. Let's check it out, chat. Let's see here. But instead to pick it apart and break it down to the base components of what are essentially its pure, unflinching facts. Google Star Wars or the Marvel movies, and you will likely see as many articles and videos with headlines like X confirms Y is canon. X questions answered by brackets new media, or X things we learned about character Z in this new book / movie / TV show, or as you will critical as new TV shows as you will critical essays. As you will critical essays about these stories, if not more, and before someone accuses me of throwing stones in glass houses, yes, IO9 totally does this too. Like I said, discussing canon can be fun. It can add a lot to the series. Let's see here. Oh, KH, thank you very much. Thank you much for the 2. Good morning, LD. Well, good morning, KH. Good morning. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Let's see here. But this craving for it, above all else, is a toxic attitude. Not just the way we talk about pieces of media from a critical perspective, but in fan circles as well. The hunger for facts above all else. This is the argument you're going to go with. Okay. We're all toxic fans, chat, because we want facts. We want to know what is and isn't confirmed as canon. We want to know what is and isn't actually true in the franchise that we like. This is the argument they're going with. Oh, if this is fantastic. Okay, let's see here. The hunger for facts above all else leads to things like filler episode becoming a derogatory term for stories that don't advance the larger ongoing plot of a narrative or don't include some shocking new revelation that someone can add to a list. I don't think filler episodes are kind of derogatory only because they're just there. They don't really advance the plot any, usually. They're just there kind of for fun, to kind of buy time for the other new episodes to be produced. I mean, they can be pretty interesting, but yeah, we don't. On the whole, we don't really want filler episodes. I know Dragon Ball Z is famous for this, but it's because it doesn't advance anything. That's why we don't like them. I mean, for example, the old joke about Dragon Ball Z is that you have a filler episode being surrounding Goku and Vegeta just screaming for about 20 minutes, and then it's over, and then we go on to the next episode. Filler episodes are there for several reasons, but we as the audience do not like filler episodes because they don't do anything. Okay, you can just cut those out, and they won't advance the story anything. It won't give us any new information. Okay, when you're writing a novel, that's the number one rule. Every sentence, almost every word, has to push forth the narrative, has to drive the plot a little bit more, because we don't want dead weight. That's what editors are for. That's why editors exist. They look at your work and say, okay, you can cut this out, because this has nothing to do with the story. This doesn't advance any character. This doesn't advance any plot. You can just cut this out, and we can get right to the meat of things. I mean, look at. I mean, you could just discuss this with any editor. They'll tell you that, yeah, these filler episodes, the filler stuff, this stuff you can just cut out. That's why we don't like filler episodes, because they don't give us anything. We're essentially just wasting our time watching them unless you really like the characters. I know anime has these filler episodes that people kind of like, but on the whole, we don't really like them because they don't do what they're supposed to be doing. It has nothing to do with canon, okay? Because the difference here is that whatever happens in filler episodes tend to be canon. Okay, they tend to be canon. We can log them away as something that actually happened in the universe of the franchise that we're watching. We just don't like them because they don't advance anything. That's the reason why we don't like them. That's the reason why it has become such a derogatory term. Not because we're obsessed with things like facts and information and canon. That we hate filler episodes just because it doesn't add to any canon. No, it's because it's wasting our time. It's an episode that does nothing and wastes the audience time. Okay, you could have an episode that does nothing, that doesn't really do anything, but we have an episode where the characters kind of speak with each other or talk with one another and have a nice character building moment without really advancing the plot. But people would like that because it gives us character development. Anyway, let's see what else they have to say. What other ridiculousness they have to say. Let's see. Matthew J. Mimnall, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Filler episodes aren't bad. SJW points at anime Hot Springs Beach episode. Not those kind. Not those kinds. That's exactly what I was thinking of. I still wanted to mention them. But yeah, the Hot Springs episode is a very popular filler episode in anime. Usually nothing really happens during that episode. And it's usually played as like a juxtaposition between serious events. So you have a serious plot line, and then just before they're about to resolve something, or just before they're about to do a big confrontation, or just before we're about to go to the final few episodes of the arc, they go to like a hot springs. So we have a nice, gentle, soft episode before you go right back into the major stuff. But yeah, the hot springs episode is one of the famous filler episodes that I was thinking about. And people tend to enjoy that episode because guess what? Not only does it have the usual fan service where you have the characters of the series in bathing suits and stuff, but usually it has a little bit of character development because usually we see the characters only involved in action and dealing with the problem of the day. The Hot Springs episode is actually a filler episode type that allows the writer to explore a character through conversation. So you can explore different facets, different angles of the main character's personalities. That's why people like it. Okay? Not just the fan service. Yeah, people like it for the fan service, but you also get a little bit extra substance with it. You see occasion for 5. Appreciate that. Bouncy boobs, thick thighs, and hourglass figures offend them. Yeah, because if you haven't found out by now, if you haven't come to the conclusion by now, it's pretty self-evident by now that SJWs and NPCs, they really, really, really hate women. They do not like women at all. They are the biggest misogynists you will ever see in modern day. If a woman comes out and just wants to wear a bathing suit, that's bad. As we will soon see, I have an article pulled up that actually is pretty interesting. It's almost like a New Warriors level interesting. So maybe we'll do that one next. And Yellow Flash even covered this. So it's pretty interesting. It's going to be filled with fun. Anyway, chat. Let's get back to business. To defeat the Huns. Okay, so But this craving for it, above all else, is a toxic attitude. How dare you be so entitled as to expect consistency and continuity in a franchise, in a continuing franchise? Let's see here. Angel of the Sword. Fan service is useful, seeing as how it is of service of fans. Yeah, it goes to the service of fans. People like that. People like that. Anyway, let's see here. It's a toxic attitude, not just to the way we talk about pieces of media from critical perspective, but in fan circles as well. The hunger for facts, above all else, to things like filler episode becoming derogatory term for stories that don't advance the larger ongoing plot of a narrative or don't include some shocking new revelations that someone can add to a list. It predicates the gatekeeping act of being a fan that is built on how much you know about a thing over whether about how much you know about a thing over whether you actually enjoy that thing or not. Well, usually a test is okay. Here's what you call it. Okay, you call yourself a Star Trek fan. Well, what do you think about this and that and this and that? And what do you think about this? And do you know about that? Are you familiar with this? Usually, if you are passionate about something, if you're really, really a fan of something, you know facts about it. Okay, either the canon stuff or the non-canon stuff or both, but you know facts about it. It's not your usual modus operandi. Okay, it's not the usual turnaround, the usual turnout that you ask someone who is a fan of something and they know nothing about that franchise. Not your everyday occurrence. Okay, so when I meet someone who also likes Star Trek, yeah, it's not testing. It's not just a matter of, oh yeah, well show me, prove to me you like Star Trek. Answer me these questions 3. It's not that sort of scenario. It's, oh, you like Star Trek? Well, here's some questions I have for you that I want your input on as a fellow Star Trek fan. It's more like a connection rather than a test. But these people, these SJWs and NPCs, they're not actually fans. Okay, they're not actually fans of the franchise. So instead of being excited about being questioned about the franchise they supposedly love, it feels to them like a test, like they're being tested because they don't know the answers. They don't know the answers. It's kind of like how mad you get if you're being caught in like a lie or something. Like you say, "Oh, I'm totally a fan of that," and they go, "Oh, well, how'd you like this episode?" And you go, "It was fine." "Oh, about this and this and this and this." Stop questioning me. Okay, you're gatekeeping me. So as we see, if you've seen past episodes, okay, you've seen past episodes of Morning Nonsense, or we've seen a long time episode of Malicious Nonsense where I cover D&D. They say gatekeeping, but when SJWs and NPCs say gatekeeping, they really mean it's on them. They really mean that they felt left out. For example, one guy who helped create D&D 5th edition said he felt gatekept out of a group of friends who play D&D or whatever because they like to tell Doctor Who jokes, and he personally has never seen Doctor Who. Therefore, he felt gatekept. It wasn't the factor of his friends saying, "No, you can't play with us because you haven't watched Doctor Who." It was a instance of, "Well, I don't watch Doctor Who, and you keep making Doctor Who jokes. Well, you're not catering to me. Therefore, I feel like I'm being gatekept." That's what they mean by gatekeeping, chat. So when they say that they're feeling gatekept because people like to question them on how much they know about the franchise, when it's really just, hey, you like this franchise? Well, I like this franchise too. Let's just have a discussion. So when when someone who is also a real fan of the franchise tries to have a discussion with these NPCs and SJWs, they feel attacked. They feel gatekept because they're not actually fans of these franchises. They just want to pretend to be fans so they can infiltrate the fandom and be listened to. They get free, get the notoriety or the label as a Star Trek or a Star Wars fan for free without actually doing the legwork, without actually having to like it or love it at all, and without actually having to invest time into watching the movies and the episodes or learning the lore. Let's see, Veraday, thank you for the 5. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Filler episodes are empty calories for flavor. Too much, and the show gets too bloated. Yeah, filler episodes are fine, but just don't have too many of them. And people don't really like them. They're not ideal to put on because, again, like I said before, they don't really advance anything. So if you're going to have a filler episode, at least put a little bit of character development in there. Let's see here. Hex Harper, thanks for the 2. Appreciate that. Fans are Blade Runners to the NPC replicants. Yeah, yeah, that's a really good comparison, actually. Fans are real, while NPCs are trying to like infiltrate the fandom with their fake fandom, with their fake obsessions. Let's see here. Angel of the Sword. These people see intern emotions as external motivations. If they feel attacked when you ask them a question, you attack them. Yeah, it's not. So. It's exactly the internal. So that's exactly the situation they found themselves in, and we found ourselves in by that stretch of logic, is that we are not attacking. We as fans are not attacking them by asking them the questions, but because they don't know the answers and not really fans of these properties, they feel attacked. Therefore, they were attacked. They weren't actually being attacked, but in their opinion, they were attacked because they don't know the answers. They can't keep up with a conversation or discussion about these franchises because, again, they're not actually fans. Anyway, how long is this article? Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done, chat. Okay, so it predicates the gatekeeping act of being a fan that is built on how much you know about a thing over whether you actually enjoy that thing or not. Is an attitude that in turn feeds the equally unruly and constantly growing spoiler culture, because a fandom that values pure details above all else puts weight in the knowledge of those details. Well, why do you think people like the fact that why do you think people like watching videos and reading articles about here's what's been confirmed as canon, here's what we can learn about this character and that character? It's because people are not. It's not because people are trying to upgrade their arsenal so they can gatekeep other people out of the fandom. Okay, it's not that. It's because these people actually. Not speaking what comes as a surprise to you, article writer, but it's because some people actually like the franchises they're fans of. I know it's a novel concept, okay, but there's some people out there, people you apparently have never met or encountered with. But there are some people out there who actually like the things that they like. That they actually like the franchises they are fans of and are always excited and enthusiastic about learning new things, new details about the franchise. Because guess what? That's what fans kind of do. Okay? It just is.
Course correction to appeal to
That's what fans kind of do. They look things up, they learn facts about the franchises they love. It's just what happens. Exactly. The big dumb fanboys. Because we're fanboys, we quite enjoy learning new things about the fandom we're a part of, or the franchise of which fandom we are part of. Okay, it's here. Dale, not every fan is equal. There's a difference in liking and being a fan. Okay, I guess you linked a little Twitter thing. Okay, just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, the real fans, they kind of obsess over the stuff. Real fans really like watching the shows, watching the movies, looking up the lore, looking up the behind the scenes. Let's see. Did something happen? Okay. Okay. Making sure that we didn't get something get cut off. We didn't get attacked by YouTube or anything. Hopefully that didn't happen. Seeing F's in the chat. Okay, good. I just cut out for a second. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Let's see here. XR's OOR Grevs, LOL. I don't think they know what fans are because they got no fans of their own of their own work. Yeah, when you have a Marvel people, that seems to be the truth. It seems to be the truth. And see, Angela the Sword. I recently exposed myself to certain anime shows that clearly consist of nothing but filler and fan service. However, the first episode makes it clear that you're get what you're getting into. It keeps its promise. Yeah, I mean, if it makes it clear that you're just getting filler and fan service, then you know, there's no disappointment there. You know exactly what you're going into. SCKH, let's hope you don't run out of anime gas. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't. But let's hope so. Let's hope I don't. And let's definitely hope that YouTube does not take us down for whatever reason, because they'd like to do that. They're very trigger happy these days. Anyway. Spoiler culture, because a fandom that values pure details above all else, puts weight in the knowledge of those details. The need robs discussion about the stories we get of nuance and interpretation. Because who cares what you think happened when there's answers? When there's an answer from the word of God. A word of God, by the way, is a trope meaning from the word of the creator, which doesn't always work, especially in the case of George Lucas, who kind of ruins things. And also there's a case of J.K. Rowling, who kind of just has... Well, J.K. Rowling really ruins things. George Lucas has a good heart, he has good intentions, but he has really crazy and, quite frankly, dumb ideas. Is he Hex Harper? A normie that just likes something will be honest with their knowledge. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Yeah. I mean, if I haven't seen something yet, I haven't seen something yet. It's no big deal. Man, it's okay. NPCs will gush about something and then get defensive when asked. Yeah, that's why they get angry, because normal people just go, "Oh, well, I haven't seen that one. I don't have any opinion on that." And the person asking probably go, oh, "Okay, that's all right then." But NPCs are trying to trick you. Okay, they're trying to trick you. They're trying to infiltrate fandoms. So that's why they get angry when you ask them a question that they don't know the answer to, and they call it gatekeeping. They call it gatekeeping because they want to get away with it. They want to trick you. They want to get away with their ruse and effortlessly, without question, sneak into the fandom. But when they get asked questions, they can't answer it because they're not actually fans. That's why they get angry, chat. That's why they call you toxic. That's why they call it gatekeeping. Let's see here. What happening when there's an answer from the word of God to that question you might have had? So basically, they're complaining about the fact that some fans run to director and creator speeches and confirmations when things become unclear, when facts become unclear. Toriyama is really good at this. The guy who runs Dragon Ball Z, he's really good at this. So people ask him questions all the time, and he's a very much a write by your pants writer, a discovery writer. So he'll change things on the fly. So if someone asked him why Krillin has no nose, and it's kind of assumed that I mean, his character design doesn't give him a nose. It's kind of assumed that he kind of has one because no one really points it out as unusual. But Toriyama says, "Oh yeah, Krillin, he breathes through his skin." Okay, Toriyama, sure, that's okay. So again, don't always go with the word of God. Just go when all else fails. Just use what you have. Okay, use what you have. That's already been established in canon and continuity. That's why it's important. That's why canon is there, chat. That's why it's there in the first place. Anyway, the need robs discussions about the stories we get of nuance and interpretation, because who cares about what you think about who cares what you think would happen? Well, who cares what you think happened? But there's an answer from the Word of God to answer that question for you, and more sinisterly, it's sinister now, chat. Okay, and more sinisterly, beyond the way it shapes out discourse, it's a craving that further enmeshes our love of a world, not the world itself, but the masters behind the world. The twist, a lit crit turn of phrase. To twist a lit crit turn of phrase. Who are they talking about there? There cannot be the death of the author if the author's got their own fandom wiki. It's fine if you want something to matter to a world and characters you care about, but it shouldn't be the be all and end all to your investment in them. Investment in them is investment in canon usually. I mean, if you're invested in the franchise, you really like the canon because you really like the stories. If you don't like the stories, then not really. Then how are you a fan if you don't actually like the franchise? The franchise is the story. The franchise is the character and the stories and developments and the facts of the world. You know what that is? That's canon. So it's very strange. You're a very strange fan indeed. If you're a fan of a franchise, but that doesn't like the stories, the characters, or the established facts and continuity of the said franchise. It's a very particular fan you are. Let's see here. So let's go over it again. It's fine if you want something to matter to a world and characters you care about. But it shouldn't be the be all and end all to your investment in them either. Fandom is such a wide, shareable passion, full of different opinions and interpretations about a thing. That's why they hate continuity in canon, because it gives a hint of objectivity. And one thing we all know that these weirdos and SJWs hate above all else is objectivity. Fandom is such a wide, shareable passion, full of different opinions and interpretations about a thing, united by a shared, vested interest and love for storytelling, valuing sterile facts and those stories more than valuing the established facts, truths about the universe that we're invested in, and the stories that we followed. That's bad. Don't do that, chat. That makes you a toxic, big, dumb fanboy. Valuing the sterile facts and those stories more than the things about them that make us think or feel is a sad thing indeed. So they're all predicated on feelings. So you're all invested on facts and stuff. What you should really be predicated on is feelings of the moment. And see, Rocket Sailor, thank you very much for the $4.99. Appreciate that. These people rejected their own culture, but desperately want to fill the void in their identity. It's caused them to flock to accessible substitutes. Yeah, they like to reject everything that's normal, and that's why they kind of reject continuity, objectivity, canon, and pretty much entire character archetypes and character developments, entire character developments. Apparently, according to this article, it's okay for them to even wave off entire stories for the sake of liking a franchise, liking a fandom, being part of a fandom. Very strange people. They, like I said, chat, they don't want to actually invest the time it takes to be a part of a fan, to be part of a fandom. They just want, one, either the attention, or two, the credibility of being part of a fandom, so they can infiltrate things, so that the creators of said fandom can listen to you, and you can input their toxicity, the toxic politics to things. People who call you, basically, chat, people who call you toxic are themselves pretty toxic, as they've shown to be. Rocket Taylor, thank you very much for the $99. Appreciate that. This is why culture is so important to them. Yeah, they want, because culture is very important. It's the identity of our people, of the people you live in. Like at the time you live in, people you live around, basically your nation. And so when they take over culture, they can drive the future of pretty much entire nations. Because culture, the way people feel about things, drives politics. So at the very basis, the movies, comic books, television shows, books, they are expressions of our culture. And if they change that, then they can reshape how we view things, reshape how we feel about things in their own image. And that's not good for us, chat. Not good for us at all. Let's see, Criminal Imagination, thank you very much for 5. Appreciate that. I'm sorry, I don't speak obnoxious. Could you translate that? They usually do speak obnoxious. That's the only way they know how to speak. Smug and obnoxious. A little smirk on their face. I could see the author of this having problem glasses on and having a little smirk the entire time. Space junk. Literally nobody has a problem with discussing things that are left ambiguous. That makes it even more fun, I think. If it's left ambiguous, you just have a little discussion, trying to justify your points with already established, clear facts of the universe that you can see in the books and things. The problem is that fake fans' stories, which break continuity, throw cause and effect out the window. Yeah, they don't really like consequences. Like we saw yesterday with Picard and everything, they don't like objectivity. They do not like consequences. They do not like cause and effect. They just want this cool thing to happen, that cool thing to happen, and for their politics to be echoed and screamed into the ear of the reader and the audience at every opportunity, whether it makes sense or not. That's what they like, chat. That's what they like. Anyway, that was an interesting article. Very, very, we'll say, unique. Well, not all that unique. It was very snowflake, very NPC, very run of the mill. And by that I mean it was typically and expectedly nonsense. Of course, continuity and canon. Okay, of course they're important. They're like the core things you would pay attention to as a fan. The facts of the universe. If you're not a fan, you probably wouldn't care about it. If you're a fan trying to if you're a SJW NPC trying to infiltrate a fandom, you definitely would not care about canon or continuity or consistency in any way. But enough of that, chat. Enough of that. Let's see here. Actually, you know what? Let me see. I'm pretty sure this is the mentality. If this comes up, if this clip works, I'm pretty sure this is the mentality of the writer of this article.
He can't
Let's see if this works.
No,
1 second, chat.
Not if I were bound by your immutable laws of
Because
physics.
they're really, really
Fortunately,
reaching for
I have
every point they
advanced
make.
beyond such simple-minded
Really, really
perceptions
reaching.
and embraced the limitless enlightenment of
Let's see
metaphysics.
if this comes on. Yeah, these people are way above. They're way above us, chat. They're way beyond us. Okay, they cast off simple facts in physics, and they've embraced they reached out and embraced the unlimited power of metaphysics. And let's see here. Dr. Crow, too bad what they came up with isn't cool. Yeah, too bad. It's it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Rocket and Sailor, thank you very much for the $1.99. They like facts, but only when it proves them right. Yeah, the only facts that are actually acceptable to them are the facts that prove them right. If it's facts that prove them wrong, it's called hate facts. They label them hate facts. It's a real term they use. Anyway. Okay, let's go into this. Like I mentioned earlier, they do not like women. SJWs and NPCs, they do not like women. They view women as evil and terrible. The bodies of women, according to SJWs and NPCs, are things that should not be on display or shown in public. So this is what happened. Okay, and we'll go into the Yellow Flash video on this because it's interesting because he puts in a lot more information. I want to show you the article first. Let's see here. Okay, check this out.
At you with some more news about comics.
So, if you're not familiar with this character, America Chavez. Okay, America Chavez was was one of the initial SJW characters, and they pushed her as a superhero who happens to be gay, and she didn't really do all that much superheroing. She was just gay. Like the superheroing aspect took a back seat to talking about her sexuality and everything. And of course, she was drawn. The original America Chavez was kind of drawn frumpy and not really all that attractive, kind of like mannish in so many ways. But of course, it was canceled because of lack of sales, like all SJW characters. And like all SJW characters, America Chavez is getting a reboot. It's getting a reboot, chat. We're going to get brand new America Chavez stories. However, this time, there's the artist of America Chavez redesigned her with a big no-no. They made her attractive. They gave her a feminine-looking body. So check this out. Carlos Gomez reveals his final America Chavez design. Fans, quote unquote, fans, deem it over-sexualized. They deemed it over-sexualized, chat. Because of course they did. Because what else would they say about it? But here we go. Because here's what she's going to look like on the cover, apparently. And this is another drawing of her. As you can see, this is very upsetting for an SJW. Very upsetting. And look at it. I want everyone to look at it. Forbid the artist from making America Chavez attractive and hoping to sell some comics for once. Time of desperation. No, forbid that. Let's see here. KHSHD, thank you for the 10. I don't get why there's so much SJW in cancer culture in Western Hemisphere. If they are living Asian countries and preach their toxicity, we Asians think you just came out as a mental institution. Yeah, that's the one thing about them. They're obviously insane. Okay, they're obviously crazy people. And normally they would just be laughed at. They'll just be ridiculed and just brushed off as crazy. But the thing is, for some reason, big companies, giant companies, are just listening to them or giving them deference, or just pay attention to what they have to say, and that's what makes them dangerous. That's what makes them dangerous, chat. Not because their ideas are convincing or even good. It's because, for some reason, a lot of powerful people in our society, people who are in control of our favorite franchise, people who are supposed to be the guardians of the flagship of franchises like Doctor Who and Star Trek and Star Wars, the people who are in control of these things, for some reason, are bending the knee to these people. And I have no idea why. Because if they weren't listening to these people, if they were ignoring these SJWs and NPCs like they were supposed to, then there would be no cancel culture. There would be no people's lives getting ruined for a joke they made 20 years ago. There would be none of that. And because they decided to bring them in and listen to them, we have that now. We have it now. Anyway, check this out. So they're trying to redo America Chavez, and they got really angry that America Chavez looks like a woman. Because, I mean, come on. Of course they would get angry over that. Anyway. Let's see here. Let me show you this real quick. Seems like I got get the right thing. Carlos, here we go. Okay, here we go. So here is what she looks like. Now, here's the redesign. Here's the new redesign that made everyone go crazy. That made everyone go insane. I want everyone to look at that, chat. I want everyone to look at it. This is because forbid the artist, from making something that would actually sell. Because these are superheroes. We generally don't want our heroes to look like slobs. Okay? We want our heroes to be because the thing is, when we as naturally as people, when we think of a past, okay, we remember someone who we deem as heroic or someone we admire. We think about them as taller and more attractive and more ideal to the way we see beauty, and the more closer to the ideal as we see someone who is worthy of our admiration. The truth in real life might be different, but in comic books, we don't have to have a comparison between what we want to be and what is. Okay, we can make these characters, and we should make these characters ideal in every way, physically, at least. So, because that's how we see them. That's how we see them. That's how we want to see them. That's how we want to see our heroes, as physically capable, physically attractive, and charismatic. Because those are the people we want to look up to. Those are people. That's how we want to. That's how we want the people we admire to look. Okay? That's how we want them to look. It's only natural. That's why superheroes often look like that. And it's fine. You may unless you're an NBC SJW, of course. Then it's not fine. But to normal, well-adjusted people, it's fine. It's here. KH, thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. Marvel Comics is crashing and burning. Now someone is here to try and save it. But they deny that. But they deny that help. No wonder Western Comics is dying. No wonder. Because even in their most desperate hour, they still try to adhere to SJW nonsense. They still cannot get it through their heads that we do not want your SJW nonsense anymore. We do not want these weirdos running these franchises, running these intellectual properties, and definitely not running and writing these characters that we've grown to love over the years. Anyway, chat. Anyway, let's take a look at let's take a listen and a look at how Yellow Flash covered this, because he has some interesting things to say about this little situation. Show audio, and here we go.
This time, more so on the people that Marvel's trying to bring in as fans. So we have some people complaining about a character design again. I want to go over this because it's pretty interesting, and I want to show you the kind of characters that they actually want Marvel to make. So I actually covered this a few days ago. America Chavez is coming back. This is a comic that completely failed. I think about 2 years ago, this comic got canceled. The numbers actually dropped.
Hey, here's an interesting part, chat. Here's the interesting part. Yellow Flash about to bring up. Yes, America Chavez did fail. It was a colossal failure, like most SJW comics. But the thing how the numbers go is that they release a new number 1, and then it just drastically falls. It just plummets. Same thing with Kamala Khan, and definitely the same thing with America Chavez. Number 1 is probably the highest selling issue, and then it goes down and down and down, month after month. And unfortunately, it's the comic book shops taking the brunt of the cost, so that the publisher can produce good numbers, or better numbers than they actually have. Let's see, Criminal Imagination, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. How dare they complain about Puerto Rico Padre? She's inclusive AF. Ray. Exactly. No one should ever complain about Puerto Rico Padre. Okay, he's the best superhero. Very inclusive. If you don't like Puerto Rico Padre, you are a Nazi or something. Anyway,
to around 6,000 issues shipped is embarrassing. Is an embarrassing number. Okay, by issue 12. The numbers shipped had dropped to 6,000 something units. That theoretically means that all 6,000 of those issues didn't sell and are wasting away on comic book shelves to this day. That's sad. That's incredibly sad.
Let's go over that one more time, Chad. Let's go over that one more time. What Yellow Flash says, because it's an interesting point, because it really highlights how these comics go. So wait for the internet gas to kick in. Wait for the internet gas. Meanwhile, Space Junk, the only superhero I know who was unfit is Night Owl from Watchmen. But that was kind of a point of his character in the story. His new Marvel is totally pointless. Yeah, because Night Owl had been, when we see him in Watchmen, he was unfit. Like he's been retired for years. He kind of let himself go. That's kind of the point of that whole story, is that there's been a while since superheroes were allowed to do their superhero thing. They've been retired. That's it. That's why he was unfit. Usually, if they're on the prowl every night, if they're doing the superhero thing every single evening, then of course they're going to be, they're going to have at least an adequate physique. They're not going to be this weird, frumpy, fat-looking thing. Okay, they're going to be this fat, frumpy-looking person. They're going to be pretty much in shape, which is kind of strange when you take in all these Marvel characters, all these SJW Marvel characters, when they want them to be fat and like ugly looking, when all actuality they're probably going to lose all that weight if they were actually human. Too bad for them. So let's see what Yellow Flash has to say again. Oh no, internet gas. Come on, internet gas. Don't leave me. Come on, internet gas. You already got the load. Why do you need more? Why are you so greedy? Why are you so hungry for internet gas? Come on. Get this going. Get this going. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's wait a little bit longer for the internet gas to kick in. Almost there, chat. Almost there. Ben Kotaku and the Mary Sue made articles saying Alita's designs in her movies are problematic when it's accurate in to the manga because they hate women. That's why. They hate women's bodies. They do. I don't know why. I think it's out of jealousy, personally. Okay. Okay, chat. Hold on. Okay, it starts as soon as I take it off the screen. All right, let's bring it back up. Let's bring it back up.
Didn't sell and are wasting away on comic book shelves to this day. That's sad. That's incredibly sad. So they canceled it. Of course, Marvel decided to announce that the book is returning along with children.
See, that's the point, chat. That's a really big one. That what Yellow Flash said was basically alluding to the fact that the small comic book stores, they're taking the brunt of the cost here because Marvel no longer is issuing buybacks. So they might have sold, Marvel might have sold 6,000 copies of America Chavez, but doesn't mean they actually sold. And by that I mean the comic stores overall might have ordered 6,000 copies of America Chavez, the first run of America Chavez, but it's a very real possibility that not one of them sold to a customer. And what that means is that America Chavez, according to the as far as costs go, with local comic book shops, that means that America Chavez might have sold 6,000 copies, but didn't sell to any customers and are still sitting on those shelves. So no one actually read them. They might have sold 6,000, but no one actually read them. That's where we are right now. That's the very real possibility that could have happened. So that they can show, so Marvel can show that they themselves sold 6,000 copies of America Chavez and say, look, people love this stuff. But it's false. It's a lie. Because people don't buy, the customer does not buy from Marvel directly. They buy from local comic book stores. And probably maybe even the internet. So, when Marvel says we sold 6,000 or 10,000 of one copy and all you're saying that the comic book industry is dying is a lie, you should remember that their numbers, the Marvel's numbers, are not accurate numbers, okay? They are just how many copies they personally sold to comic book shops. It's not an indicator as to how many copies sold to customers and how they reacted to it. So they could sell 6,000 and only sell one or two. It could look like a success, but it's actually, in all actuality, it's a failure.
Children of the Atom, and of course, the disastrous New Warriors, and then they put out that X Factor book. It's just bad announcement after bad announcement after bad announcement. And then, of course, the comic book industry is on the verge of collapse itself. So comics are a hot topic right now. So it's fun to go over these kind of topics to show you exactly why they're failing. Not necessarily because of this art. I think this art's pretty good. So this is done by Carlos Gomez. Now, I didn't really know who he was, so I looked him up, found him on Twitter, and amazingly...
You know, on that note, I would say that comic books are not, the Marvel comics are not succeeding because they don't do that artwork. Yellow Flash says they're not failing because of artwork like this. In fact, he says that he quite likes the artwork. I think it could be argued, in all actuality, that these comic books are failing because they don't have artwork like this. They usually have characters that look ugly and unkempt and very overall unappealing to run through their unappealing stories. And I'm pretty sure if they had more art like this, like America Chavez, this new reboot of America Chavez, they would sell more comics. But they can't have that. Of course, they have to complain because being attractive as a woman, according to an SJW or an NPC, is incredibly sexist. Incredibly sexist. But check out this. I don't think it's a coincidence, okay, chat? Yellow Flash is going to go over some qualities about this guy's Twitter. I think this guy's a comic book pro. Carlos Gomez is a comic book pro. I want you to notice something. That Gomez can make good art. He does good art. He does good work. He makes America Chavez look like a woman, look attractive. So we're gonna go over his Twitter account, and I want you to notice something because Yellow Flash is about to point this out. Check this out.
This is insane. I went and looked at his Twitter profile. All he does is talk about comic books and how fun they are and how much he likes them. No politics, no bashing on fans. It's all him talking about comics. It's crazy because you don't see it. Right now, the comic book industry is in flux. Like,
See, there you go, chat. There you go. This guy produces good work, quality work. He had fun making the comic. He his Twitter account is not just an endless tirade of him bashing Trump. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's very telling that people love this work. People really like. He made an appealing America Chavez. He put character before politics. I think it's very telling that this one guy, who produced something that's actually appealing, something that we can give a 2 thumbs up to, also does not have a Twitter account bashing fans or just talking about endlessly about politics and how evil Trump is and all that stuff. Instead, it's nothing but how much he loves comic books, how awesome comics are. I don't think that's a coincidence, chat. It's almost as if he's passionate about his work. It's almost as if he's passionate about the medium he works in. It's almost as if he's passionate about comics. Novel idea, I know, especially from a comic books pro. But I don't think it's any coincidence that the comic book pros who concentrate on politics and bash fans and complain endlessly about Trump instead of comics, I don't think it's a coincidence that their work is pretty much deemed as nonsensical crap. This one person who talks about comics and how awesome they are and has a clear passion for the work he does and does pretty good work, I don't think it's a coincidence that he is not that political. That Twitter's not filled with woke nonsense and virtue signaling. That he concentrates on his work and the quality of that work. I don't think it's a coincidence, chat. Anyway, KH, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. Marvel Comics are living in fantasy world. It hurt itself in the dumpster fire and is super effective. Yeah, it just lit himself on fire. Very effective. It's burning up quite a bit because guess what? Comic books are made out of paper, so of course they're gonna burn quite a bit and burn pretty good. When I say
things are happening that could devastate and destroy the industry. If you go to regular comic pros Twitters, what are they doing? Trashing fans, doubling down on why the industry is going to be okay, and of course going at the Orange Man bad. That's all they do. They have one-sided conversations with Trump all day long. Like Dan Slott. Dan Slott's been talking to him for about 7 years now. He's never replied back. Probably has no idea who the hell Dan Slott is.
There's something really pathetic about modern comic books pros, well, most of them, or at least some of them, is that they hate Trump so much. And they always send out tweets like, "Dear President Trump," or something like that. And then they give some snarky comment or something they think is clever. And Trump never replies. Trump doesn't even acknowledge them. So yeah, as Yellow Flash points out, regardless of your politics, it's kind of pathetic. And they spend so much time talking to someone who doesn't answer them back. Who's just there. So they're having a one-sided conversation for years on end with no response from the other person. That seems very desperate and pathetic to me. Anyway. Let's see, Punished Berserker. If you're a politician that craves total control over the common man, then convincing the common man to willingly disarm themselves is your best interest. Oh yeah. And you know that when Hitler was trying to exterminate the Jewish people, he actually took their guns away. He gave a more lax gun control than the German people. But when it came to the people he wanted to exterminate, he took their guns away. That's what usually happens to people who the tyrant wants to oppress. So if you're part of a group of people who has a tyrant around who wants to oppress them, the first thing the tyrant will do is they're probably wanting to go take your guns away. So watch out for that. Watch out for that. Anyway.
But nonetheless, that doesn't stop him from talking to him every day. It's really insane. Dan Slott's sales are trash now, by the way. Ever since he got off Spider-Man, his sales have went to nothing. But this is refreshing. I really like this. I like this. That's nice. Just talking comics. Doesn't have a big following, but likes comics. Does some amazing art. I looked up at some of his work just at Marvel, and his designs are great. So he's done some X-Men, some Mary Jane, the Gwen Stacy book. His designs are good. He should get more work, honestly. This is the kind of...
There we go. We got to see more examples of this man's work, and he does pretty good work, I have to say. His art looks very good. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence, chat, that he's concentrating on comics and producing quality and talking about comics, how they're awesome, and not really one of those people who's saying that Trump is evil and talking about white supremacy all the time and how toxic the fans are. No, he's just out there making comics and enjoying what he's doing, and his work is actually good, as opposed to everyone who's all the other pros who are obsessed with politics and whose work is bad, really, really bad, like abysmally bad. I don't think it's a coincidence. Let's see what else Yellowflash has to say.
Kind of art that would help comic books, but of course, we can't have that. So he put out his design for America, and I got to say, it looks pretty good. I see the art here. This is the kind of art that your core demographic would appreciate, which is, of course, let's be honest, middle-aged men. Middle-aged men are the largest demographic for comic books. It's no secret. They, for some reason, probably because of the pricing and the fact that the stories aren't very good.
Yeah, that's one thing they really, really, really can't stand, chat. That's one thing they really can't stand. It's SJWs and NBC weirdos. They cannot comprehend the fact, and they cannot just accept the fact that the main demographic they're trying to appeal to is not like teenage girls or something. It's not like a woke soy boys. It's middle-aged men. More likely middle-aged white men who go to comic book stores and buy comics, who are still really, really enjoying comics. And even more important, who can actually afford them, because comic books are getting more and more expensive out there. Now it's, I think, what's like $4 for 20 pages of political lecture, which nobody wants. Okay. And it's getting up there for this little tidbit of a story produced by Marvel or DC with nothing else. Okay, no variant covers. Well, you get variant covers, but no like special chromium editions and special like editions you get with the comic book. None of that. Just a typical 20-page floppy, $4. And unfortunately for them, okay, this is out of the price range of the target audience they're trying to appeal to, which is, but this is not they're not trying to appeal to the 45, middle-aged white men. They're trying to appeal to the people who don't have money, like the kids and high school girls and other people like that. And maybe even woke soy boys who might have money, but I'm pretty sure those woke soy boys, even if they did have a money and a job, they've already spent their money on internet thoughts. So I mean, they're already poor. They don't have the money or time for comics. So this is why they're failing and failing and failing, and why each iteration of their already canceled character keeps getting canceled.
Good, and that there's a lot of entertainment out there that's just cheaper. Like I've said before, I can go on Steam and probably buy a decent indie game for about $5. Instead, should I buy a comic for $4? That's about 15 minutes of entertainment. Okay, this kind of art appeals to people that are your core demographic.
Let's see here. Kavathar 1138, $4 for 20 pages of political lecture. LD, I just about spit out my coffee. Glad you enjoy that one. And I see Barry Bend. My only complaint of the art is, where's her super suit? Yeah, she needs a super suit. She needs a. That's one thing I really don't like about these typical SJW NPC sort of costume designs. They always try to make them look like normal house clothes. like being a superhero, being a superhero ain't no thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my superheroes dressed up in like hoodies and stuff. I want them to wear hoodies only if they're trying to hide their superhero costume underneath. Okay, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Stop giving us superheroes whose costumes are made of like yoga pants and like windbreakers. Give me your typical like a onesie and stuff like that. Okay, I'll take that. Your Batman onesie, your Superman onesie. Okay, those are superhero costumes, not something you put together in your closet. I know Static Shock did that. But come on, Static Shock, his costume is clearly a superhero costume. It looks cool. It has a long jacket. It's a mask. It's got a symbol on it. His costume looks like an actual costume, and plus he's an actual teenager. That's how actual teenagers might put together a costume, because that was how he did it. Now, usually you have characters that are adults that now have. Okay, I guess it's a interesting point there. The thing is, there's a difference between Static Shock's costume and these SJW costumes, because Static Shock, his costume looked it was a coat and like a shirt and pants and everything, gloves, but it looked like a superhero costume. It didn't look like someone would actually wear it. He just happened to have it canonically in his closet, according to the cartoon show, for some unknown reason. Like, it looked like a costume he had in his closet, not like something you would actually wear every day. It looked like a legitimate Halloween costume or something. When SJWs have characters, when they have their superheroes, okay, their costumes kind of look like this. There's something they just woke up, put on something out of the closet, like a t-shirt and jeans maybe, and they're off to go fight criminals. Okay, that's not a superhero costume. That's not a superhero costume. Okay, if you have to give him a superhero, like a casual looking superhero costume, do what Static Shock does. Give him a theme. Make him look a little bit more unique, and I guess you could say a little bit more ridiculous. Okay, that's what we want. We want these guys to look like superheroes, to look different. Okay. Dr. Crow, it's like they gave up halfway through the montage. Yeah, it's almost as if, right? Almost as if. Anyway, see what else Yellowfish has to say.
Now, one way to get that younger crowd is to maybe change your pricing. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. But nonetheless, when people look at comics, they want to...
Yeah, if they want like high school kids or younger kids to buy their comics, they're going to need to make them cheaper, because they don't usually have the disposable income to spend $4 on 20 pages. Okay? They don't. So you want these kids to come in and buy your comics, you're going to need to lower them to maybe like $1 or $2, not $4. Cut the price in half. You might be able to attract that younger demographic, but as it stands, not looking too good for you.
See characters that look like Greek gods. The pinnacle of what an attractive human should look like is what should be in comic books. This guy's art's doing that just nicely. So he's showing off this artwork here. I like it. I think it looks good. But of course, here comes the NPC Puritans. Put that booty.
Here comes the Twitter Mafia, the Twitter Brigade. Here it comes, chat. Let's see what they have to say. Yellowflash will guide us through this.
Away, ma'am. Put it away. Put it away. So here's what they got to say. But whatever the result, it's just hard to get over how actualized this is. He does say that this art doesn't reflect the tone of the series, and I really hope that we're not getting anything close to this on panel. It's just inexcusable. When he was announced as the artist, this was my fear, NGL. America herself looks good, and she looks as strong and thick as she should. She also looks like a piece of meat. And also, it might be a lot better in the book itself, but right now it's a red flag. This is a conspiracy theory, but I wonder if Marvel chose this artist and style specifically because it would appease the comic skaters. America Chavez is cool now. She's not like those silly SJW characters that...
Yeah, how dare they? How dare they try to appeal to a paying demographic of people? And every time they try to make a character that would sell, or a character that looks good, or write a story that doesn't have politics in it, they always say, "Oh, you're just trying to appeal to the incels, or you're trying to appeal to Comicsgate." Comicsgate and incels are not the only people who buy comics. Okay, they're not. That's the truth of the matter. A lot of people who would want to buy comics, They just don't want to buy your political agenda. Okay, it's that unconvincing. I don't want to buy your political agenda. I know a lot of people who do. I know a lot of people don't want to either. So just because the character looks good, looks quote unquote cool, okay, and the character look and the story might look like it's going to be an actual good story. If the art looks like this, that doesn't mean they're appealing to Comicsgate. But they hate Comicsgate so much because Comicsgate is beating them left and right. At everything is Comicsgate. It's kind of like how Nini Sarkeesian and her ilk, her coven, always blames Gamergate for everything. They're still blaming Gamergate. They're still talking about Gamergate. It's because Gamergate ruined their fun. Gamergate ruined their takeover of the video games industry, and they couldn't do it. And it launched this whole anti-SJW movement, and they hate that. They want to get away with everything. It's like how I said that they get angry that you question them on what they know about fandoms, and they get angry because they don't know anything. They're not actual fans. They just want to infiltrate. You got in the way of them. Okay, it's the same anger. The same anger as you catching them in their lie about being fans is the same exact anger as these people having their fun destroyed by Comicsgate. The same anger these people suffered when Nini Sarkeesian was thwarted by Gamergate. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. All the same anger, the same source on these people.
Their covered bodies and respect for women. You can read it too. Okay, so Carlos posted his final Mac design for her upcoming solo, and yeah. It literally looks like all her clothes are painted on her.
Sigh. You can't have attractive women. How can't you? Didn't you know that you're supposed to have them in burqas, and they're supposed to be 300 pounds? Insult to the Human Race, thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. From Jack Byrne Imble. For NPCs, being a superhero can be done in casual clothes because to the writer, they are a superhero, fighting oppression and racism every day. You know what? That you might think that was a joke, but they really think this. I forgot who said this. I forgot which pro it was who actually said something like this. But they were talking to Ethan Van Sciver, I think. I think Ethan Van Sciver covered it. I might have to cover it tomorrow. We're kind of running out of time here. But thing is, one person who kind of tried to denounce Ethan Van Sciver came out and said that we are superheroes because we write about superheroes. And wow, they really think this. They really think they're that important. They really think they're superheroes in real life because they draw and write about superheroes. And just because you have someone else doing all the hard work does not mean you're doing the hard work. Okay. Okay. Watching someone work out does not mean you're working out. It doesn't work that way. I think I have it somewhere. You know what? I'll let you after we cover this chat. I'll let you choose what we cover next. Okay. I'll let you choose what we cover next. We have a lot of stuff to go over. I picked a lot of stuff for the show. We still have lots of stuff to go over. We're kind of running low on time. Anyway, Space Osher, thanks for the 5. Not to mention people turn on poorly written, sexy ladies. Look at Fire Emblem's Camila. Yeah, I mean, if they're not well written, of course they're going to turn on them and say, you just added them in here for appeal. And what we want is good-looking characters that are written well. Yeah, especially and these people just turn on anything on a dime. The NPCs, they will just turn on anything on a dime. But yeah, make them look good. If they're superheroes, if you're writing a superhero, make them look good. Doesn't matter if they're a man or a woman. Make them look good. Let's see. Make them have a good physique, and make them competent, make them powerful, and you'll be fine. Let's see here. I see that the one servant of Satania who wishes Midland won. So by that logic, you're a superhero as well. I'll take it. Actually, technically by that logic, I'm a super villain because my comic book is about a super villain. So according to their logic, I would be because they believe they're real life superheroes because they write about superheroes. I guess I'm a real life super villain because I write about super villains. So I'll take that too. I'll accept that. Doesn't sound too bad. I like that. Well done. Well done. Punished Berserker. Have these people ever met Latinas? I don't think so. Because I have, and America Chavez does not remind me of anyone I've ever met. They're known for having big asses. One of the employees at my job is 4'11" and petite, but she's still yeah. That tends to be the truth. It tends to be the case. They don't really like the fact that they all he's doing is being respectful, right? All he's doing is being respectful to the actual the race you chose to depict here. He's just being respectful. There's no insult here, I don't think. I see Cage, thank you very much for the 5. $4 for 20 pages. How little content. I can buy a Shonen Jump weekly series for about 300 yen, about $4 in Singapore, and have 500 plus pages. Exactly. Because you can buy kind of these volumes of manga for kind of comparatively cheap, and you get several stories, and you get several pages, like quite a few. And that's not including, okay, it's not really including the fact that they have apps out there. I think it was like a Shonen Jump app or something like that, where you can pay $3. You can pay $3 a month and have full access to their entire library for an entire month. Now that's a deal. That's a deal. I see Verde, thank you for the 5. Appreciate that. Shonen Jump is about $3 for 200 pages. See, there you go. On pulp comic pages. That's how you market the teenagers. Yeah. See, if I'm a teenager, if I would have probably like if I was lucky, 'cause I didn't have an allowance growing up. I had to work for everything. I think it's probably the better way to go. So if I had money, it's because I worked for it. From when I was in elementary school on up, doesn't matter what age I was. If I had money to my name, it's because I earned it somehow. That's the only way I personally got money. But I hear some people got things called allowances. So let's say you got an allowance. Your allowance is what? $50 a month or so. Just to spend on whatever you want. You were spending on things on video games or whatever you want. So $3 is $50 does not take you all that long of a way. And especially if you're subscribing to subscription services. So if you want people to really start investing in comics, if you don't see a big interest in comics, but you want people to start investing in comics, then make them affordable. Increase the value of the dollar. What they're doing right now with DC and Marvel is they're decreasing the value of the dollar, making them more expensive. They're saying, "Oh, look, people aren't coming to buy our comics books anymore. Let's up the price." No, try going the other way. Try to up the value of the dollar, which is what I did with Dr. Alpha. I upped the value by making it. I went from 50 pages to 80 pages to 112 pages, with no cost in the price, no difference in the price. Okay. You're supposed to up the value if you don't think people will buy. Give them more bang for the buck. But they're not doing that. That's why so many people are getting into manga. I mean, not only because manga is a lot more free, a lot more diverse, and a lot less politically correct than Western comics. Well, because they're far more accessible. I mean, $3 for 200 pages, $3 for a whole month of unlimited access to a library. Now that's business. That's placating because they don't understand placating to the customer. They just don't understand that. They don't understand making the customer happy or think about the customer. They think about themselves, their own bottom line, which is why they're in this situation in the first place. Anyway, I think we got the gist of this. The Twitter mob is mad that some guy, a very talented artist, made America Chavez look attractive instead of frumpy and disgusting. So, what would you rather go over, chat? What would you rather go over next? Let's see here. Okay. We'd rather go over how the House of Comic Book Pros are getting really having meltdowns over Ethan Van Sciver. Watching him talk about how crazy they've gotten, and they've gotten pretty crazy. It's new kind of crazy. Or would you want to go? You want to see how crazy some comic book pros have gotten in this whole pandemic, and how they're attacking fans and stuff. There's another instance of that. And or we just to see the Animal Crossing, the whole Animal Crossing debacle, where where all these Twitter mob people have gotten angry over Animal Crossing, because some people are sharing things. Some players are sharing islands that are really well made. And that's really putting a damper on the days of the SJWs because they have to work in order to get there, and so they're really getting it's intimidated. We'll say intimidated by other people having better islands than they do. Animal Crossing pandemic. Okay, I'm having a. Let's see here. Reddit, did you see the Easy VS interview I sent you? I did. I went over it. It was really good. I liked it. It was very interesting. Very, very interesting. So let's go over the EVS stuff. Let's go over the EVS stuff. I think it might be interesting. I think you might like it. Because they get really violent with this one. We'll do the EVS stuff, and then we'll do Animal Crossing. We'll end it with Animal Crossing. How's that sound, chat? We'll end it with the Animal Crossing. Okay, we'll do both. We'll get to both. Don't worry. You're not forgotten. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and share it. Go ahead and get this up here. And we'll get the EVS stuff up here. Let's see here. Here we go. They're humiliated, chat. Okay. The social justice comic book pros, they're all humiliated. And they're just lashing out there. I think your boy Zach call it death throes. Like, this is the last death throes of these people. They're just doing it. They're just lashing out. Okay, here we go, chat. Here we go. It's 25 minutes. I don't think we'll cover the whole thing, but we'll cover it until we get the gist of the idea. And then we'll move on to the Animal Crossing stuff, because the Animal Crossing stuff is pretty hilarious. I thought so anyway. KH, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. I remember when I was in my teens, I bought the manga series Full Metal Alchemist weekly, physical copies for $5, and it was 200 plus pages. Yeah, that's a really good deal. 200 plus pages a book. That's an excellent deal. Excellent deal. Yeah, but if Marvel DC really want this stuff, they really want new people coming into their they want new customers buying their comics. What I would do was, since they already have a lot of these old works in backlog, right? They should start publishing out anthologies for almost dirt cheap, almost for free. Like print out like the first 100, maybe 5 or 10 comic books of Batman, and sell that for about $4 or $5. Or make anthologies that are 100 plus pages, because I know they did that with Punisher. I know they have the Essential Punisher. They have these Essential series where they do in order the first stories of particular characters. I have the Punisher ones. I have the Punisher one. I should do that. It's a thick comic book, and they should sell it for like almost nothing if they're really that desperate, because they don't have to pay for it to be made. They just have to pay for the printing and the shipping, and people will buy it. Even though your margin will be very thin. It'll help introduce new people to the characters, because the thing is, the reason why Marvel was able to inflate its numbers is because they kept putting out number ones, because people don't want to get into the middle of things. People don't want to pick up like issue 10 if they haven't picked up issue 1 through 9 yet. That's why people kind of feel left out, because there's so much continuity. There's so much story to go over when you're reading about someone like Batman or Superman. You always feel like you're stepping into the middle of things. We don't like to do that all the time. So that's why your usual customer tends to be, like Yellow Flash says, middle-aged men, because they were there at the beginning, or relatively at the beginning, or had access to the beginning of these characters at one point. Okay, that's basically what happened. They were there at the beginning, and they can kind of remember and go through all these comics that built up the character until present day. So what I would do is to bring in all the comics and make them easily accessible again, put them in big, thick anthologies, and then make them really cheap, so you can get new people to come in on issue 1, and they'll just come in. It's like, it's issue 1. I won't be missing anything. This is right from the front door. I won't be jumping on a journey right in the middle of things. and so they'll like it. They'll like it a lot. I think that'll work, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they're a little too greedy to do that. Instead of putting out maybe 200 plus pages for $4, they're going to put out 20 pages for $4. Even though they have a back catalog they could easily make. I don't know. But that's what I would look into at least. Let's see. Angel of Thy Sword. I purchased a $20 collection of Punisher, and it's all your fault. Well, I don't think I'll be disappointed. The Punisher is a fantastic character. I like. He's one of my favorites. I like him. So I'll take the blame on that one. Anyway, let's check this out. This gets pretty creepy right off the bat. This is the Unworthy Alex at A. Smith Peterson. Let's see what he has to say about EVS.
The only way I get excited about comics news tomorrow? Marvel and DC announced defeat of Comicsgate. Streets to run red with the blood of EVS.
Streets to run red with blood. That's where they are now. That's where these SJWs and NPCs are now. They've been run so crazy by a combination of a failing industry, by their failing industry, and the success of EVS and Comicsgate, that they're now tweeting things out like, the only way I'll be happy about tomorrow, okay? The only way I'll be happy about tomorrow's comic book news is if the streets were running red with the blood of EVS. Like, wow, you've gone really far there. You've gone really far there. I think he's talking about Cyberfrog, so we'll skip that for a second. But yeah, Cyberfrog Wreck Planet is on sale. You won't go check it out. Let's see here. Hex Harper, best Punisher stories I would recommend. I think I would recommend, if I would recommend any Punisher, it would be the Garth Ennis Punisher Max series. I really enjoy that series. Very brutal, and it's very, very Punisher. I see him as the only one capable enough to write the best Punisher. And I see his version of the Punisher as the one true Punisher, in my view. You might have a different view, which is fine. But in my view, that's how I view it. The Garth Ennis Punisher, one true Punisher, in my take. I do like other Punisher stories, though. I do like them. Just not so much as I like Garth Ennis' Punisher. Anyway. Let's see here. Oh, he's playing the trailer. I think that might be copyrighted music, so I'm not going to play that. I think that when I played his trailer last time with that music, I actually got in trouble for copyright, so I'm not going to play that. Okay, here we go.
Artist Pro Secrets, and my name's Evie.
Oh, Chris Sotomayor. That one, he's a really big weirdo. He's a really big weirdo. He's one of those, he actively participated in cancel culture. He's one of those cancel culture weirdos. So let's check it out.
Yes, or Ethan Van Sciver, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry that has collapsed. World's most charming, elegant, eloquent, and yet humble man. Great big Star Wars fan and trusted member of the media. SJWs are howling for my blood right now. SJWs who have...
As we saw, they literally are. It's not a metaphor. They're not howling for his blood as in they're being mean or something. They're actually calling for the streets to run red with his blood. These people are insane.
Taken over the comic book industry and killed it. It's officially dead. Are now coming after Comicsgate and praying for the demise of Comicsgate. They're hoping that they can drag us down with them. They can't. They can't drag us down. Our model will survive. It's built to actually survive situations like COVID-19. It's built to actually survive all of the pitfalls that caused the comic book industry to collapse in the first place. One of those was SJWs, like this fellow here. This is one of the worst SJWs in comics. He's a colorist. There's a weird cult of colorists, like social justice warrior colorists, that all get together, and they're the most hateful people I think I've ever encountered. I don't know why it's colorists who do that. Thank God we have sweethearts like Kyle Ritter, who was my colorist on Cyberfrog. This kind of hatred and the way that people like this speak to the fans and the customers is absolutely foreign to Kyle Ritter. It's foreign to Comicsgate, And look at this guy. He
So
says,
look at that. Sorry, I can't hear you over my Batman and Deadpool deadlines. What an arrogant SJW NBC person. And this is you do not understand because these people are in denial. I think they cannot comprehend. Okay, they cannot comprehend that we are in the middle of a pandemic. They cannot comprehend that it's pencils down. Okay, they cannot comprehend that they have no more work. Okay, it's not working anymore. We know you have no more work. We know that people have said pencils down. That comic book artists, we're not hiring you anymore. Okay, we've been shut down. Okay, we know that. So what an arrogant thing to say. Sorry, I can't hear your complaints over my Batman and Deadpool deadlines. It's like a vacation or something to them, I guess. They're not taking this seriously. They're not taking this seriously at all. But Chris Sotomayor is really bad. He's a really bad SJW. I just learned of him a few days ago, but yeah, he's pretty bad. So let's see what he has to say. Let's see where we're going with this.
sorry, I can't hear you over my Batman and Deadpool deadlines, pencil dick. To this poor guy here who probably doesn't want any trouble. But again, this is the answer. Put the pencil down.
Everyone ever see that clip of Arnold Schwarzenegger saying "put the cookie down"? That's what I keep thinking every time someone says "put the pencil down," put the cookie down, put the cookie down. That's what that's what it reminds me of. When Arnold Schwarzenegger says "put the cookie down," I like that. So every time someone says "put the pencil down," I just hear it in Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. It's fantastic.
All of the comic book companies right now are telling the pros, okay, pencils down, hashtag pencils down. We can't afford to pay you right now. And there's still a couple of companies, the big two, Marvel and DC, have not yet made that declaration. They're trying other things, and I'm going to tell you why that is. I'm going to explain that to you. But this kind of behavior, of course, from social justice warriors is a big part of why people aren't buying comics anymore. It's a big part of why comic book stores don't have money put away to be able to survive. They weren't able to sell any of, like, how do you sell the comic book of somebody who called a fan pencil dick and then bragged about get.
Yeah, so I didn't even notice that hashtag before. So yeah, he said he's talking to a fan. He's talking to a potential customer, and he says, "Sorry, I can't hear your complaints over my Batman and Deadpool deadlines." Hashtag pencil dick. Who talks to customers like this? This goes to show the arrogance of these comic book creators. And they wouldn't be complaining. They wouldn't be talking to you. They wouldn't be praying for your demise if you had been in any way respectful or less arrogant or get out of your bubble for a little bit. Okay? And that's what happens. But now you just continue being arrogant. You continue being a jerk to all of your customers. And customers you're probably going to have to rely on pretty soon because the industry is shutting down. The industry is shutting down. London Bridge is falling down and the industry is shutting down. Okay? But they can't, some of these people can't comprehend that. They cannot comprehend that. Light Yagami, Rob Liefeld's Deadpool used to be the best Deadpool comics until he became an SJW, like all the other comic book artists. I'm not really sure about Rob Liefeld. He's got centrist. He kind of balances. Sometimes he has some SJW talking points, but other times he's been really upset. I saw Rob Liefeld come out as like an absolute centrist. He says when he got in a lot of trouble for this. He said Trump derangement syndrome does exist. Okay, these people are crazy, and he got a lot of flack for that one because he came out and admitted that yeah, people are way too crazy over this president to unusually psychotic degrees. And he got flack for that. So yeah, he's kind of a jerk sometimes. He doesn't like Comicsgate, and he's actively against it. And I badgered him on that one. He didn't block me for some reason, but he said something along the lines of, "There's a group out there able to make comics great again." And I said, "Yeah, it's Comicsgate." Pretty sure he didn't want me to say that, but that's what he meant. I'm pretty sure that's what he meant. But he doesn't like Comicsgate as a whole, as far as I've learned, which is kind of strange because he's Rob Liefeld. Anyway,
getting to work on Batman and Deadpool, these two great big corporate books, a wage slave. This guy is just he's so the ego, the arrogance, the hubris of these people. They don't think that they answer to you guys, the customers, and that's because they don't. The way that the comic book industry worked before, people like this a-hole were actually insulated. He answered to his editor, who answered to the publisher answered to the distributor, and the distributor answered to the local comic shop, who answered to you. These guys don't consider you to be their customers. People who buy comic books, they don't feel like, I'll show you why. So this is the situation that we're in right now. By the way, this guy, I pointed out, that guy's a major cancel culture SJW piece of shit. He definitely is. This fellow here, quite innocently says, look, this whole hashtag pencils down thing is hurting local comic shops. When you see LCS, that stands for local comic shops. Those are the retailers.
No, pencils down is not hurting local comic book shops. The hashtag that was made is not hurting local comic book shops. You, the comic book pros, are hurting local comic book shops. And you didn't care one bit about local comic book shops until this whole pandemic thing. And suddenly that's all it's about, because you're using local comic book shops, the people you have been abusing and bullying for years, as shields. Because now it's all on you. Now you are being fired, and now people are making fun of you and laughing at your demise because you have for years tried to cancel other people, insulted your customer base, and tried to ruin customers and insult customers by calling them bigots and istophobes. Okay, that's penciled down. Laughing at you as you sink on the ship that you set afire yourself. That's why we're laughing at you. So no, it's not pencils down that's hurting local comic book shops. You're just, as a despicable person you are, you're just using the local comic book shops as a shield, as a moral center to get blame off of yourself when it was all your fault. Okay? Not our fault. Not the customer's fault. Your fault. You drove us away. You told us not to buy your comics, so we didn't. We went other places. We went elsewhere. And so we stopped. We stopped buying your stuff, and you began to fail. Okay, so local comic book shops, that's on you. That's on you, not us. We tried to tell you. We begged you for years. Okay, make better stories. Take out all the politics out of your stories. Make better comic books. Stop ruining characters that have legacy on them. Okay, stop it. Just stop it. Make nice adventures that we can buy and enjoy, and stop insulting us. Stop telling us not to buy your comics. Stop being the arrogant jerks that you have been acting as. Pop your bubble, okay? Let all those fart fumes you've been inhaling for years, let them go out to the sky, and let it stop rotting your brain. Sniff the fresh air. Fresh air. Be good for you. Be good for you. But you never did. You never did. And now we are where we are. And it's all your fault. Not our fault, chat. Not the customer's fault. We've been telling them for years to fix their stuff. They didn't. So when he says pencils down is hurting local comic book shops, that is disingenuous, a lie, and downright despicable. Anyway, Lancelot652, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. I don't understand TDS or any obsession over a politician. I pay them zero attention and go back to whatever I find fun. Most people do. There are so many people, so many Americans in particular, are so apathetic to politics that the best they can hope for is like a 40 to 50% voter turnout for something. Because all these politicians are so terrible. It's so terrible and cringy. They're basically the same as these comic book pros. They're so terrible, cringy, and arrogant. They think they know everything. They think that they know what's best for us. When we voted them in because we know what's best for us, we just voted them in so they can represent us in Congress. Because we can't all be in Congress, that would be ridiculous. But they think they know better than us what's good for us. They think so. That's what it's become. It's supposed to be them going into Congress or the Senate representing what we want, not what they want. Not what they want for us. So yeah, most people just go around and have fun, just live their daily life, enjoy it, don't obsess over politics. The fewer politics, the less politics is in your life, I think the happier you'll be, actually. I think the happier you'll be. Anyways, continue.
Might have in your neighborhood. More than anything, if they just continued working, they'd be able to get ahead. So when this thing blows over, they can stock local comic shops with the late and new, causing a huge financial.
No, the comic book stock, the comic book stores, your local comic stores, they're stocked. Okay, they have they have inventory for days. Okay, they're stocked. They're just stocked with inventory that no one wants to buy. Okay, that's the problem. That's why they're failing. That's why they're in trouble, because it's not the customer championing pencils down and championing your demise. Okay, if Marvel shut down, local comic book shops, technically speaking, would have inventory for days and days and days and days, and go on for a long time without Marvel and DC being open. The thing is, their entire inventory is filled with inventory that no one wants to buy, filled with products that no one wants to purchase, because it's filled with politics and insulting customers and disgusting one-sided social issues. No one wants to buy that. So yeah, comic book stores, they are stocked already. They don't have to wait to be stocked. They are already stocked. And because Marvel's not doing the buyback, they're stuck with all the stuff that no one sells. They're stuck with the hundreds of issues that go unsold. Like a Yellow Flash said, they might even be stuck with the 6,000 issues of America Chavez that no one bought, that the comic book shops bought, and that the Marvel refused to refund so that they can inflate their numbers. Let's see here. Barry Bend. In hospitals near where I live, TDS cases mostly fall under Code Magenta. They are not serious enough to require such a priority. Yeah, I mean, what can you do for that in a hospital? I mean, it's a mental illness. And TDS is a mental illness. This is obliterates your brain, destroys the humor portion of your brain. You're unable to comprehend humor, and it really inflames your obsessive lobe. You become addicted to hate. It's really unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. Anyway, Chad, let's continue.
Financial surge when fans buy both. This is a very naive perspective, but this guy means well. You know, he just doesn't understand the severity of the situation that we find ourselves in. In fact, just taking this apart piece by piece, there's no money to pay these people with if they continued working. And if they did just continue to create product, continue to work, and they went ahead and flooded the local comic shops with product that is unsellable, well, it would just make matters worse. The fact of the matter is, there's too much comic book stuff out there right now. DC scaled back with their production, but Marvel doubled down, and they're filling comic book stores with books that nobody's buying. So, comic shops are trying to navigate that situation. And not only that.
Okay, believe it or not, chat, I actually didn't watch this video. Believe it or not, I actually didn't watch this video before we played it here. I watched the beginning. And I saw that little opening where that guy is calling for blood in the streets, for the streets to run red with EVS's blood. And I thought, okay, this should be promising. But yeah, I told you everything, and then EVS came right behind me and confirmed it. So I'm not making this up. This is not me making this up, being hyperbolic or anything. This is actually what's happening.
Look, when this blows over, I had to actually talk to him. I said, this isn't going to blow over. And he said, well, no, I mean the coronavirus. A lot of people are under the impression that, COVID-19 is just going to kind of go away in April. It's not. This problem is probably going to continue for 6 months to a year. So I hate to say that. I had to say it here. Yeah, but that's 6 months to a year away. When the dust settles, there won't be a comic book industry as we've known it. Now, this is why social justice warriors are howling for my head right now. I'm about to lay a vicious truth bomb on them. I even have people who are supportive of me, who didn't like it that I was this blunt about the situation. But I don't think it does us any good to...
Because the narrative was that the comic book industry was obviously dying. They were inflating numbers, making a big bubble. However, people were just not buying their comics anymore. They were selling fewer and fewer comics. They were just upping the price, putting out new number ones, putting out like 30 variants for specific number ones, and doing all sorts of things. Okay, doing all sorts of underhanded things to make them look like they're more successful than they are. And one of my favorites they try to do, one of the favorite tricks they try to do that I really enjoy to this day, is that they're trying to include manga sales in their own sales. So they're saying, look at the comic book industry is doing fine, it's doing fantastic. These people are lying, it's not dying. The comic book industry is stronger than ever. And what they're doing is they're including manga sales in there. And it's not the manga sales are comics, yes, but it's not the comic book industry. It's not the Western comic book industry. If the Western comic book industry, if DC and Marvel went bankrupt, if they just dissolved overnight, it would not affect manga in the least, unless you consider that their sales would skyrocket. So yeah, because if Marvel and DC kind of die, you could say that the superhero comic kind of die, because that's where it's going. So you have two men. Essentially, you have two men doing the same job. One is sick and dying, and the other one is strong and healthy. And the sick and dying one says, "Look, we're doing fine. That guy is healthy." Trying to confuse you and give you the illusion that everything is fine because the guy next to him is healthy, not necessarily him.
To hide our heads in the sand. I don't think it does the comic book industry any good to pretend that this is going to go away and get better. I've got people who are longtime retailers who are saying, yeah, but we endured something like this in the 90s. No, you didn't. And then we came back stronger than ever. Sure, 50% of the stores might die because of this situation, but when it's all over, we're going to come back bigger and stronger than ever. Well, a lot of things have changed since the 1990s. This is a brand new world, a world in which, interest in going to local comic shops is declining. People would much rather order their comic books over the internet. That's how people shop these days. People don't want to get in their car and drive to a comics shop to get their comics. And there's some people who still do enjoy that, don't get me wrong, and you're probably one of those people. But most people, as we evolve, as a business, as the way we do business evolves, the comic book store is kind of going the way of Blockbuster home video. Of course, there was...
Yeah, that's unfortunately, that's true. And not just because people wanted to stop purchasing comic at comic book stores, not just because of that. It's because they can't stay in business anymore, because people aren't buying the comics that DC and Marvel are producing. If they produced good products, good quality products, then I think they'd be doing a little bit better. Maybe not closing so many of those shops, because there have been a lot of comic book shops that have closed down because they just can't really support themselves anymore. Okay, they can't really support themselves anymore at all, because they're already running by razor thin margins of profit, if they have profit at all. And there's no buyback system anymore, so anything they buy, they have to keep, even if they can't sell it. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place almost. Dragos V, thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. Friendly reminder that juvenile comics are 41% of the market share. Manga is 28% of the market share. And comics are 10% of the market share, with a negative 9.7% year after year rate of decreasing. Wow, that's according to Forbes too. Wow. So by comics, I assume you mean like Western comics, like the DC and everything. I never heard of juvenile comics, but that's quite a huge portion of the market share. That's pretty good. That's pretty good information. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that, DressSB. Appreciate that. Fantastic. Not so fantastic for the comic book pros, though. They're kind of flailing in the wind. And if it's been a 9.7% decline, then they can't really afford to decline too much anymore. Especially not now. But like I said, chat, they haven't learned the lesson, not one little bit. They have not learned the lesson one little bit. They're still producing the same old SJW garbage. They're just complaining about not having jobs anymore. They're kind of the guy who goes to work every day and sleeps all day, and that which is against the rules in this job, this hypothetical metaphorical job, and then gets fired. And then he's angry. And he says, "Okay, you have 2 weeks to either shave up or get fired." And they have no idea what they're talking about. So they still sleep all day, and they're complaining that the boss is being too hard on them because they're going to fire them for doing nothing wrong. But still, they go into work day after day, sleeping all day at the job, and then they get fired, and they have no idea why they got fired. It's kind of like that scenario. Like, you're not supposed to sleep all day at the job, okay? It's supposed to be on Twitter all day. You're supposed to be working. I did nothing wrong. You're supposed to be working. I've been working. Sleeping is not working. Being on Twitter is not working. Believe it or not. Let's see here. Rocket Taylor for $1.99. Appreciate that. How many pages per dollar was the first Superman? I have no idea. I don't think it was that much back then. That's a good question. That's a good question. I have to find that out. At these moments, what are juvenile comics? I've never heard of it. Is that a company? Or is that another subsection of comics? I'm not sure what those are. I guess those are comics like just sold to juveniles. Like YA comics or something? I don't know. Anyway, let's continue.
Red box in between, and then Netflix. Eventually, you don't have to leave your house at all. Everything is served up to you on demand. And comic books, while they're never going to fully go digital, like Netflix.
By the way, I think that's partly why Comicsgate is doing so well, because Comicsgate is not a store. You back a Comicsgate book, an independent book, and you get it shipped right to you. So you can just, all you have to do is back and then wait for it to be completed and then wait for it to be shipped. You don't have to go to any comic book store. You don't have to even leave your house. Which, by the way, makes it kind of a perfect model for a pandemic. But you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to go to a store and deal with all the weirdos over there, or risk getting sick. You just get it shipped to your house. I think it's why that model works pretty well these days.
They're going to be delivered to people, and people are going to want them delivered. Point and click, have them, ship them over here, and that's the way it's going to be. So, anyway,
Superman and then Champion. I don't think it was even $1 per book. I don't think so, because it was made so long ago. It was made a long time ago. Let's see here. Josh V comics for kids. So okay, so it's not a company. It is a comic book for kids. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's why they're trying to go YA, but it's because that's a large demographic. Doesn't mean you can just shell out nonsense. Okay, so it's to be quality. But now I see why they're going young adult, because it seems to be what sells these days. It seems to be a huge portion of the market share, even bigger than manga. So yeah, that makes sense. It's just they're not writing very well. They need to get good. Okay, they need to get good, chat. They need to get good or go home.
That's reality. You can't compare today to anything that we've seen before. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of things are happening all at once. That's causing this to be. So here's what I'm saying. Here's my prediction. You want to know how the comic book industry is going to die and what's caused it and what's going to remain. Here's what I said, and this is why they want to kill me right now. I said DC is going to fight this out with digital and bookstore distribution. Now, DC did something really drastic this week. They announced that they are stepping away from their exclusive agreement with Diamond. Diamond has been a monopoly in terms of distributing comic books to comic book stores. It's always been Diamond, and everybody has an exclusive agreement with them. Well, since Diamond said that we are not distributing books, we are not taking product for the month of April, and then Diamond actually said, we ain't paying you either. Companies, hey, vendors, we're stiffing you.
Now what's made it even worse is that Diamond, the monopoly, the monopoly that distributes comics, they ordered comics from Marvel and DC, and then Marvel and DC fills that order, and then Diamond pays for them, and then Diamond distributes those comics, and then they get paid for distributing those comics. What they decided to do was that because of this whole shutdown thing, they decided not actually to pay anyone. They're not paying the people that they bought stuff from. They're just going to go ahead and run away with the money, run away with the product, and keep the money because of potential cash flow problems, which makes it even harder on everyone. Makes it even harder on everyone involved, except for Diamond. Except for Diamond, of course. I guess there might be some trouble along the way if all this goes over. Because Diamond and let's see, DC and Marvel, they're kind of all stabbing each other in the back right now, trying to they're basically like three people at sea, all trying to swim, and they're trying to survive by pushing down the head of the other person beside them. That's kind of like what's going on right now. And the local comic book shops, they're just taking all the heat. They're really suffering. They're not really doing anything wrong. They're just really suffering. So, let's see. See what else he has to say. I think we're almost done with this video. I think we'll go ahead and quit this video pretty soon and move on to Animal Crossing. Well, let's see if there's anything else he has to say.
We are not paying you for your books in the month of April. This has been pretty drastic, pretty crazy, catastrophic. DC Comics took that as a hint and said, okay, well, we're walking away from our exclusive agreement with Diamond. We're going to find other ways to get comic books into comic book stores. Well, comic book stores are all closed right now, DC. They're non-essential businesses. There's nowhere to put comics. Where are you going to put them? Well, bookstores, Walmart, Target. I mean, I don't even know. Are bookstores open right now? Well, this is what they're going to do. They're going to use bookstore distribution to put trade paperbacks and more floppies in Barnes & Noble and in Walmart and in Target. This is going to shrink their business to a microscopic size. This is going to absolutely, this is not going to work. So they're going to use that. They're going to use Amazon. And eventually what's going to happen is exactly what I predicted. AT&T will close their publishing arm by the end of this year.
AT&T is incurring a lot of debt, and one of the things they have control over, I forgot which one it was. I think it was DC or Marvel. I forgot which publishing house they have, but AT&T has a lot of debt, and they can't really afford to support a company that is just increasing that debt, that's just sucking up money. They can't really do that. So it's a very real possibility that they could be shutting down one of the major publishing wings of comics in the upcoming months or years or something like that, because they can't afford to keep it open. If it's not producing money, they can't afford to keep it open. That's just business. I think it's DC. According to this tweet, it's DC, but it's a possibility, very real possibility. So that the DC publishing arm of DC, the comic publishing arm, might just shut down DC. It's a possibility that could happen if it's not making money, and it's very unfortunate, but it happens to be a very real possible outcome. And there you have it. Let's see here. Noble Commando, in the 1930s, comics cost 10 cents, which is about $2 for 60 pages. That's pretty good. That is a pretty good deal right there. I would pay $2 for 60 pages. That's a pretty good deal. I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. Let's see here. Yeah, so it is dying.
That's my prediction. DC's already hanging by a thread, and when Diamond closed out, DC had no choice but to essentially pull a Brexit and betray the entire comic book industry, local comic book stores, and betray Diamond. I mean, Diamond kind of drew the first blood, but they had no choice. What are they going to go back to their new corporate masters at AT&T and say, well, we're not profitable right now, we're not producing anything right now, and we know that you're considering cutting us off at the knees. We know you're considering basically divesting the publishing arm, but just give us a minute, everything's going to be okay. No, DC scrambled and announced that they had a solution for this. Well, the solution's not going to be good enough. It's an aspirin to somebody who's actually bleeding out. The industry's bleeding out, and it's not going to work. So yeah, AT&T is going to close DC. That's going to have a catastrophic effect. I mean, this is like the extinction of dinosaurs that we're witnessing right here. I mean, meteors, all kinds of stuff are...
Yeah, on that note, even Bleeding Cool, which I often describe as the propaganda wing of the comic book industry, even Bleeding Cool called this an extinction event. It's a comic book extinction event, where the big company, the way we saw the industry, the way the industry has existed for years and years and years, might be going away fairly soon because of these pros, because of the razor thin margins of profit, because and especially because of this pandemic, because it didn't really cause the downfall that much. as opposed to sped it up. This kind of knocked the legs from underneath the table, essentially. I think we're done with this video. Let's go ahead and move on to Animal Crossing, shall we? I'll go ahead and pull up the article first. See if we can. Here we go. Animal Crossing, and here it is on. I think it's on Polygon, one of those weirdo toxic sites that have weirdo toxic news about gaming. And it says Animal Crossing social media explosion leaves some fans frustrated and jealous. It's mainly just jealous, not really frustrated. Mainly just jealous. Okay. That's where it kind of stems from. Let's see. At its best, Animal Crossing is a contemplative series about small moments. The Nintendo franchise emphasizes simple pleasures, like sitting on a tree up and admiring the rosy caress of a sunset, or listening to the comforting patter of rain on the protective embrace of an umbrella. But social media and its rapid-fire updates have changed the nature of the idyllic games for some fans playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. I feel shabby and inadequate. I think it's the slogan of all SJWs. They feel shabby and inadequate, but don't want to change that about themselves. They don't want to go through the proper steps of becoming not shabby and not inadequate. So they want to make shabby and inadequate the ideal way to be. Like Lizzo, they want to highlight the fact we want body positivity. You should be fat now. They want to highlight the fact that these people should be slubby and be just given money, and they want socialism. So, where they don't really have to work, they just get money from the government, all that stuff. So yeah, they feel shabby and inadequate, but the mind of the SJW says, I don't have to change myself. I shouldn't have to change myself. I'll just change the world until being shabby and inadequate is a good thing. This is whole movement. That's what the whole movement seems to be about. Let's see here. We need a Doom crossover with Animal Crossing. Doom guy needs a vacation. Yeah, he needs a vacation in Animal Crossing world. A Doom guy would be perfect for Animal Crossing, I think. Absolutely perfect. Anyway, I feel shabby and inadequate, says player Devon Gozjolko, and who spoke with Polygon over email alongside dozens of other players about what it's like to see other Animal Crossing fans share elaborate designs on social media. Every time I get on Twitter, I see posts from both friends and internet people I follow who have these either incredibly ornate or certifiably insane setups on their island, and it's honestly feels terrible. Like, who do I think I'm buying this game? Who did I think I was buying this game? It feels inadequate because people have a better setup than he does. And he's going to go complain about it instead of making his stuff better. Anyway, let's go through this with Yellow Flash. He made a video on it. I think it'd be more entertaining if we covered it all together. Let's see here. And here we go. Let's check it out.
So games media is a little upset. They're mad again. You would think maybe it's over something ridiculous, something maybe something really important. No. They're apparently now upset because, well, some people are sharing very highly well done islands on Animal Crossing New Horizons. And some people, well, they just don't have the time. I don't know how they don't have the time right now, but they don't have the same kind of luxurious items on their island, and now they are sad and they are upset. So now...
yeah, everything should be equal, chat. Yeah, everything should be equal. Everything should be... redistribute the wealth. All right? Wealth redistribution, okay? As essentially what they're asking for now. These guys have good stuff. These guys are evil because their stuff is better than mine. That's why they hate capitalism. They hate these people who have really nice islands on Animal Crossing for the same reasons they hate capitalism. Because these people put in the work. These people got all kinds of. These people earned what they got, and these people are mad that their island doesn't look like these people's island because they didn't put in the work. They just didn't put in the work. They didn't want to put in the work. Let's see here. Criminal Imagination, thanks for the 5. Appreciate that. I see elaborate worlds people made in Terraria. You know what I do when I want those? I do what they did. Exactly. Like, well, that looks really, really cool. I'm going to go emulate that. But in the mind of the SJW NPC, it's not, I want to emulate that. It's not, I want to see if I can do something like that or even better. It's cry because their stuff is better than mine. Some person that you're not even related to, or may not even be related to, even friends with, or it may not even met before. You just saw their post on social media. Suddenly they're the bad guy. They're oppressing you because they put in work in their island and you didn't. You just did the bare minimum. That's how this works, chat. That's how this works. In their mind.
Apparently, Animal Crossing is an example of classes, class warfare or something. I know it's kind of weird, but they're upset about it. How dare you put the time in and have nice things on your island? There's other people out there on their virtual island that don't have such nice things. This is seriously what they're complaining about. So the crack journalists over at Polygon dug into the story. They wanted to know what's going on. Why are people upset over Animal Crossing? Well, they sent their top tier journalists over to the internet to find out, and they got a bunch of responses. And the gist of what's going on here is that people are jealous that some fans have better things than they do. Because, well, some people don't have anything else to do right now, so they have lots of time to devote to the game, and they're like having all kinds of crazy islands full of stuff. And then some people that still have, things going on in their life right now don't have the time to get it. So they're upset because they're on social media and they can't post these pictures. And then some people are upset that this is the first time they've ever played the game, and people that have played previous incarnations of the game, they're able to run out of the gate going hard and getting bells.
Oh yeah, so unfair, chat. So unfair. How dare these people who had experience playing previous games? How dare the loyalty of the Animal Crossing fan base be rewarded by having the same controls as last time? How do they have an advantage over me? That's not fair. That's not equal. That's not equal. It's equal to them as a bludgeon. It's not, okay, everyone should have an equal opportunity. It's everyone should be equal all the time on everything, ever. So if I am a new player, then they should be treated as new players too. They should not have any advantages over me. That's not fair. That's their mindset. That's their mindset. Not because it's not just, okay, they've been playing longer than me. It's fine. It's they've been playing longer than me. That's not fair, and that's that they shouldn't be allowed to do that. They shouldn't be allowed to post anymore on social media because it's ruining my fun. Why would it ruin your fun? Just do what they did and put in the time and effort to make things good. But they can't comprehend that, chat. The NPCs, they can't comprehend that. They want everything handed to them on a silver platter. They want it to be handed greatness, handed opportunity, and handed perfection. They just want to be great right from the get-go without having to do the work. They want to be Rey, essentially. They want to be Rey from Star Wars. That's probably why there's such an insert character, such an ideal character that everyone, all these NPCs and SJWs love, because Rey is their ideal existence. To be, to not need no man and to just be awesome right off the bat. Just be handed everything, handed X-Wings and best friends and Millennium Falcons and power, extraordinary power, all that stuff. A cheat code for life. They want the cheat code for life, exactly. Sounds like bigotry to me. It is bigotry. They hate them only because of what they are. They hate them for what they are. Even though they're complete strangers, it's a prejudice. It's a prejudice they have. Because their island is better than mine, because they've been playing longer than me, they're bad people. They shouldn't be allowed to post anymore. Or they should be encouraged not to post anymore for their own sensibilities.
And building up big things because they have experience and they don't. Why can't I get those things too? Why can't it just be handed to me? Why won't you just hand it to me? Why can't I just, how dare I have to learn this game? What, you mean being a fan of the previous games makes it easier? What? This is a crazy concept. I've never quite heard of something like this before. Having previous experience at something making you better than somebody else? That's ridiculous. What? That's so crazy. I can't believe that. But of course, I want it now. I want it now. It's pretty much the attitude going on with this game right now. Let's go ahead and take. They've gathered up some examples here. So here's what people are saying when they're contacting.
Let's check it out. This should be pretty good. This should be pretty good, I think. Let's check it out.
Polygon. I feel shabby and inadequate, says a player who spoke with Polygon over email alongside dozens of other players about what it's like to see other Animal Crossing fans share their designs on social media. Every time I get on Twitter, I see posts from both friends and internet people I follow who have these either incredibly ornate or certifiably insane setups on their island, and it honestly feels terrible. Like, who did I think I was buying this game? You loser, man. Get over yourself. Play the game and get good. I don't know what to tell you, man. You're going to hear him whine and feel terrible.
Exactly. There you go. Apparently, Yellow Flash agrees with me. Stop whining. Get good. Just get good. Okay. When I played Dark Souls, and I was terrible at it when I first started. And then I practiced and practiced and practiced. I eventually beat the game. It was a very fun game. I liked it. But you have to get good. Okay. Games are not always going to be there just to hold your hand at everything. They'll explain to you how it works, but sometimes you just have to get good. Okay, just get good. Stop complaining about other people, how other people have gotten already good, and you yourself do put in the work, time, and effort if you really want to get good. So there you go.
Terrible because people have hot setups in Animal Crossing. What is wrong with you? What?
R3 LLK 1K1. That's a really good point. A player, quote unquote, press exit out. Yeah, there might even not even been a player. It might have just been one of those concern trolls. One of those people who pretend to be players, to pretend to be fans, just so they can get attention, just so they can seem like the point of view is worth listening to. Because in reality, they might not be fans. In reality, they might not actually be players. They just want to complain and get some spotlight, get some notoriety. And that's it. So he might not actually be a player. Good point.
What's wrong with you, man? You need to seriously reevaluate your life or something. Okay. I've never had this. I mean, I've seen people Dark Souls be like, oh man, that's a cool weapon after they've slayed you. You know what I'm saying? That's a cool weapon or something like that. I wish I could get that. Let me go look up how to get it so I can get it. Okay. That's what crossed my mind. No, I just wish that they would unlock it for me. Polygon, save me. Polygon. What a joke. What a joke that this is journalism too. Like, how does this website in a time where websites are losing money, laying off people, somehow, some way, Polygon finds a way. It's like the DSP of gaming outlets. They'll be the last one standing. I really do feel it, because I don't know if everyone just works for free at Polygon, or if maybe just somebody with a lot of money is giving them money to stay afloat because they love the lols. I don't know. But somehow Polygon finds a way to just keep on making.
Polygon finds a way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll stay up. They'll probably get a lot of money because anyone who produces things like this on a consistent basis, not getting money the normal way. They probably have some backers or something like that. Because there's no way they're the Polygon, Kotaku, all of their journalism is just terrible. They're not really journalists. They're fake journalists producing fake news. Fake news. Let's see here. Barry Ben, I'm an experienced D&D player. I know how to roll a D20 properly and rarely crit fail. They'll be jealous of you. They're jealous of you because you know how to play. That's not fair to them. Hex Harper, never played Dark Souls, but the hardest game I've beaten so far is Invisible Ink on expert mode. It took me months to finally get the 20 days on endless achievement. Oh, nice. That's nice. See, if you really want to get good at a game, you can. It just takes practice and time. And I know these other players of Animal Crossing did. So the other players did, okay? They put in the time, they put in the practice, and look things up, because guess what? They're fans. They look into these things. They invest the time because they're fans. these people, these SJWs and NPCs, they don't want to invest that time. They're not really fans. They just want to be in on the next fad, and they not only want to just ride along. They want to take it over, which is what this article basically is. Andresius V, I'm very glad to see LD play Dark Souls. Glad to hear about YF's Dark Souls take. God, I felt so good to get shit off my by epic bosses sometimes, or laugh at traps. Good times, good times. Oh yes, many a trap in Dark Souls. Got to be careful. Not everything is as they appear to be. I might even do. And I don't know if Dark Souls is like an old game to play. It's like your typical standard game to stream. I might do a Dark Souls stream one day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's see here. Let's check it out.
Nothing but dog shit like this, and it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. It also blows my mind that people have these opinions, that this is a real thing, that people are so sad they don't want to put the time in so they can get a Vikings.
And this was published. Yes, this was published on the 31st. And like Yellow Flash said, a lot of these people are playing Animal Crossing because a pandemic is going around, because they don't have anything else to do. Their job is closed, the work is closed, school is closed. Everything is pretty much shut down, and they're just shut down in the house, just playing video games, looking for something to do. And this is what they're worrying about. We're in the middle of a real-life pandemic, and all these people can do is complain about how not everything is equal. These people have a much better island than me. Someone should fix this. They should make their island terrible again, so I don't feel so bad. I think the thing they really want to happen is that people stop sharing these their islands and their gameplay footage on social media. That's what they really want to happen. Matthew J. Minmal, thank you very much for the 2. Appreciate that. I would pay to see the SJWs play roguelike. Oh no. No. They will just fall to their knees and cry on the first get-go. The first time they try it. They just crumble into nothing. Let's see, Sanjuro Yojimbo. Maybe I'll play Hollow Knight instead. I heard that was also pretty good. Let's see here. Let's continue. Let's check it out.
Are you kidding me? Look it up. There's thousands of videos on YouTube to learn how to play Animal Crossing. I'm sure if you spent some time, you could figure it out. But nobody wants to do that. They want to whine about it, make hundreds of tweets.
Yeah, the 2 used to that whole pay-to-win concept. I bet you these SJWs and NPCs are the same people who go into like a free MMORPG and just pay to win, get all the stuff where they can pay to win. I bet you these are the same exact people.
Tweet at Nintendo. How dare you, Nintendo? How dare you? How dare you make this game that I have to actually play so that it has playability for a long time? I just wanted everything given to me right away. It's insane. Got another one right here. I don't understand Animal Crossing. After playing for a couple of hours daily, I finally have a museum on my humble island. But then I opened Twitter, and apparently everyone else just finished constructing the Mesopotamian Empire. So, yeah. Here's another hot take. It says, I love Animal Crossing, but it can be a really stressful game at times. Imagine being stressed.
They're okay, chat. Hold on. If you recall, the beginning of the article says that Animal Crossing is Nintendo's game for just relaxing, sitting back, like sitting on a tree stump and watching the flowers grow. That's what Animal Crossing is about. It's very low key, very relaxing game. And leave it to SJWs and NPCs to get stressed over it. Leave it to SJWs and NPCs to find immense amount of stress over the least stressful game possible. Of course they do. They get stressed over everything. I would hate to be one of these people. I would hate to be in this mindset where you have to stress over whose island is better. It's who cares? The only thing you should care about is your island or whatever. I see Barry Ben play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. It's a roguelike game plus a cool story. That's interesting. Interesting. Let's see.
Playing a game where you collect fruit to craft into things. That's stressful. Polygon know what their crack journalism is figured out.
Now that you mention it, if they think Animal Crossing is stressful, I would really hate to see them play Dark Souls or any kind of roguelike game. They would just fall to pieces on as soon as the game starts, it's crumble to pieces. It would be hilarious. Let's see here. R3L1K1. Look at the flowers. Look at the flower. Look at the rabbits. Look at the rabbits, George. Look at the rabbits, Lenny. Look at the rabbits. Let's look at the flowers, Lenny. Look at the flowers. We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there together, Lenny. Don't worry.
Figured out the problem. This is definitely why the game is causing so much problems. That's because it comes down to a single button. Nintendo has dedicated a button that allows you to share things. And you can share it to you can share these screenshots to Twitter? Wow. Oh my goodness. This is some crack journalism. I've never have I seen such good journalism in my life. This Polygon, you're going to live forever. It feels like I tripped out of the starting gate of a race and now I'm trying to keep running on a twisted ankle, says another user who is relatively new to the franchise and therefore only now learning about its many secrets. Well, that's what happens when you play a game with multiple versions over the years for the first time. It's going to be hard for you compared to people who know tricks to get bells and all kinds of stuff so that they can accelerate through the game faster. In fact, I think that's every single game series. Oh my goodness, this drives me.
Yeah, so there you have it. There you have it, chat. Like I said, they're really angry about the fact that you can share gameplay online. They can't stand that. Let's see here. Ragan Sino, thanks for $1.99. In before LD plays something like Undertale. No. I heard so many good things about the game, but then I heard that it was like the SJWs and NPCs like latch onto that game like lamprey. So how good can it be? How good can it be? Like leeches, always harping on about Undertale and what's the other one? Was it Homestuck or something like that? No, thank you. No, thank you. You're supposed to be like a peaceful pacifist or something? No. I don't need that. We don't need any games where you have to be a pacifist. Games with violence and brutal murder. That's pretty good. But games that encourage you to be a pacifist, nah, we could do without that. Let's see here.
Me crazy sometimes. It really does. Here's another one. When I look on Twitter and see people with seemingly full neighborhoods, big houses with tons of cool furniture and knickknacks, and largely furnished museums, it makes me feel like I'm playing the game incorrectly. So get good. Go read some fact guides. Go watch some videos on YouTube. You just want to sit here and email Polygon?
Yeah, but getting good requires work, and as we've all seen Yellow Flashes, we've all seen from Marvel creators to people who worked on Picard. They don't want to do work. Okay, working is one thing they don't want to do. They want to just produce products, have everyone else do all the hard work, and then just reap the success. Like Star Trek Picard ripped off Mass Effect so they can make their show. Marvel creators they don't do anything. They just turn their latest Twitter fight into a comic and they call it a day just so they can produce something, get paid. And of course, these people don't really want to put in the work. They're complaining that other people have already put in the work and are not, quote unquote, paying deference to them, are not considering their feelings, that they can they have a good island and they don't. That they themselves don't. They're just because they're begging them on some sort of false, hollow moral high ground not to share the game footage because it's hurtful or insulting or discouraging or something. And stop that. So obviously, Yellow Flash. It's not because they just don't want to. It's not because they're not doing it. It's also because they don't want to. They're very lazy. It requires work to get good, and work is the one thing that SJWs and NPCs never want to do. They just want to go to a job, get paid, and surf on Twitter all day. They want to go to the job, surf on Twitter all day, and get paid. Why do you think journalists produce articles on tweets? That's all they want to do all day. They want to go to work, surf on Twitter, and then make articles about their surfing on Twitter so they can just get by and not get fired. They don't really want to work. They just really want to They just really want to quote and they really want to fight on Twitter. That's all they want to do. That's why their articles read like this elongated Twitter posts, not really news. This long Twitter posts that they can publish and get paid for.
About how sad you are? Listen to this loser. I wanted to play the game to escape, not to have it be a real-world simulator filled with haves and have-nots. Get out of here, man. You whining bee. Get out of here. This person says, I see people with all these cool features that I get to unlock myself and get to know what's ahead and earn them myself, says someone that understands video games. They put that person right at the bottom because they know most people, 9 times out of 10, aren't going to make it through this piece of trash. And I'm more convinced than ever that our society is ruined and that Polygon will for sure be the final video game outlet to be in existence. You know, that for some reason they keep putting this kind of trash out and they keep making money. Somebody's funding this website with tons of money to keep them afloat so they can write this trash because they love the lulz or they just love.
I see. Tyler Preston, Dishonored, a spiritual successor to Hitman, punishes you for being an assassin. I like Dishonored. It was fun. I of course took the dark route because they don't make you not go that route. There's 2 different endings, and you can go the assassin route where you don't you shouldn't kill the people you're not supposed to. You just kill the people you're supposed to, and not even then. There's always like a pacifist route where you can spare the people you're supposed to assassinate in one way or another, or you can just go around and kill everybody. I chose a darker path on my first playthrough. So yeah, I mean, it encourages you. It kind of gives you the option, and encourages you kind of through morally, but doesn't. I don't think it's as bad. And I haven't played Undertale. I don't think it's nearly as bad as Undertale. You can do whatever you want in Dishonored. It kind of, in fact, going the dark route kind of fits with the overall theme. Kind of, dark and foreboding and ominous. So you get encouragement either way in Dishonored, but there is a pacifist route, but you don't have to take it, and I didn't, not one little bit.
Love irritating people. It's one of those reasons. I don't know. They want to maybe it's a form of kind of control to shorten people's lifespans through horrible cringe. I'm not sure, but something's going on. Something is not right that this place can just keep putting this kind of garbage out. Because what kind of gamer, what kind of self-respecting gamer goes to Polygon for actual game news? I'm convinced it's just people like me that go here at this point to make content to laugh at for our channels. Because this is shit. It really is. And it blows my mind that this exists and that people are actually mad about this game. My mind is just it blows every day. I'm probably losing a year of my life every time I make one of these videos because of the cringe. Anyway, that's it, guys.
I bet you that's the actual plan of the SJWs and NPCs. They want to shorten the regular people's lifespans by being really cringy. That's what they want to do. I think that's their master plan this entire time. That was fantastic. These whiny little babies. Oh, fantastic. Let's see here. Okay, so I think that's I'll go ahead and end the stream here. We're at the 3 hour and 30-minute mark. Thank you everyone for joining me. Appreciate it. And yeah, these of course let me get this back up here. These morning nonsense streams are all kept on the channel playlist. So if you missed something or if you came in right in the middle of it, you can go to the main channel, go to the playlist tab, and look on the playlist Morning Nonsense, and you should be able to find the episodes that are the episodes there, the episodes that have not been deleted by YouTube, obviously. And I'll be back tomorrow with a special episode. We're going to go over these a couple of these videos I've been wanting to go over. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think we'll have a lot of fun with this nonsense. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you all next time.